I'll introduce you, Keith. So Keith is an IT, works in IT and lives in Seattle. Never had much of an interest in the paranormal until him and his then girlfriend Tina moved into a fairly modern house in Bothell in Seattle, where they started experiencing gradually voices, sounds, objects disappearing, reappearing, and then poltergeist activity, things rising up into like a plant, rising up in midair, spinning. And they've also had several witnesses as well, so friends that have come over. And Keith has been very diligent in recording these occurrences and has become a huge investigator and student of this paranormal field. So today Keith is going to talk about the physical manifestations and the recording, the physical evidence of poltergeist activity and the capturing of the evidence through equipment that he's had. But we might divert, which sometimes is the case. So over to you, Keith. Welcome and everyone, and thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, everyone, for attending. If you attended last time, thanks for coming back. I know there was a lot of information on that 3.5 hours of presentation, 2 days worth. So we're talking maybe 7 hours. And then there was a lot of videos and links sent via email. Hope some of you were able to comb through some of those. I know you're not finished based on the amount of links I put in the email. But what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm a visual guy, and when Joyce and I talked a few weeks ago about doing this again, I want to, so visual while I narrate, while I talk, and while I give commentary, because I want to hopefully try to put you in my mindset, or what my mindset was at the time when me and Tina discovered some of this phenomena, AKA poltergeist attack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to disappear my face, stop my video. So now you see my avatar there. Okay, and then I'm going to share screen. And then let's see here. Where's my PowerPoint deck? Come on, PowerPoint. Where are you? Okay, PowerPoint's hiding. 1 second here. Let's see. Whiteboard.
Just while Keith is organising this, can everyone just mute themselves until the Q&A, just so we don't get background noise? Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully you can see my PowerPoint. What I'm going to do is widen it. It's going to fill up my whole screen, so hopefully it'll fill up your whole screen too. And then we can just begin. So if everybody can see my PowerPoint, I'm going to go ahead and start. Let's see. Okay. So you should see my house. Can everybody see the Bothell house?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Okay, so we can go. So hello again, everybody. This is the Bothell house. This is the house that me and Tina lived in for 4 years, me especially, from May 1st, 2012 to May 8th, I believe, 2016. This is a 2-story single dwelling unit. As you can see, homes in the United States, particularly, I don't know how they are in Australia or in where you live, but I don't know how many people on the phone call are from the States or in Australia, but most homes are single units, meaning they're not connected. There's some space between houses. So this is what you would describe as a single unit home. It's not a condominium. It's not an apartment. It's not a duplex. It's a single unit. I believe we have 4, maybe 5 bedrooms, like 5 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. This is the Bothell. This is the Bothell house. Okay, so let's get down to the phenomena. The Bothell house, or I should say, when me and Tina lived in the home, in multiple bedrooms, office, car, garage, kitchen, living room, den. I broke it down as to, and it's in my first book, The Bothell Hell House, of which room would I describe as the room from hell? Which room has had the most activity? And I could honestly say my office, not by much, was the room that was primarily attacked, okay, or had the most activity. One of the things me and Tina got, I guess, accused of or suspicion, or people didn't take our story seriously, was the fact that, poltergeist, and I know everybody on this call knows this already, but I'm just going to state it anyway, but poltergeist phenomena or poltergeist outbreaks in homes or place of residence resemble, probably by design, typical home vandalism, typical home intrusion, home invasion. Like somebody broke in, somebody ransacked your home environment. I believe that's sort of by design. That's sort of the nature of the poltergeist. It gives them a little plausibility or deniability to whoever you tell the story to, because when people first saw our pictures that I sent, the first questions I got were, well, it looks like somebody broke into your house. Well, it looks like somebody ransacked your house or vandalized your house. That's the proper term we use here in the States. So what you see to the right is my office. And this is pretty much what I would call my command center, way before the poltergeist phenomenon. This is just my office that I utilize when I want to work from home. I call it my man cave. On the left, the windows you see on the left of this screen, my office is the window on the left, the window protruding from the house the most. This is my office. So you got the outside world. If you look at this house walking by, you would never suspect the horror that's going on inside. And believe me, there's a lot of horror going on, a lot of activity going on inside. One of my next door neighbors who lived across the street one day saw me coming home, and he walks his dog every day. He's a retired veteran. And when I pulled up to my driveway, he came across the street and said, "I thought you were home." And I'm like, "No, I just got off work. I just got off work. I've been at work all day." He said, "I'm always walking by your house during the day while I walk my dog. And when I walk by your house, I hear so much noise. I hear so much, like a party going on." He's like, "Are you a video game player?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, kind of, sort of, maybe." I hear so much like ransacking going on. And my dog, he won't cross your lawn. He won't go down the sidewalk across from your house. But I noticed 3 times when I walk past your house, I hear noise coming from. So he thought I was home. Well, the day he told me that across the street, I've not been in my home yet. I have not walked into the house. So I sort of shrugged, laughed, like, "No, I've been at work all day." But I know what he means. I know what he's referring to. So when I walk in to my home and I get to my office, the living room is destroyed as well. The living room downstairs is destroyed. But this is what my office looked like when I walked in. This picture was taken a few minutes after talking to him. And if you look closely, what you will see is my computer chair on the floor, one computer monitor face down, printer face down on a box, and just everything, all the contents in my closet just thrown to the floor, just thrown to the floor. This became an everyday occurrence, I would say, probably spring and summer of 2014. And by daily occurrence or frequent occurrence, I mean, this would happen pretty much every day, if not every other day. Now, the interesting thing about this melee, this quote unquote vandalism is I got to clean this up, right? I got to raise my monitor back up, see if it's working. I got to put my printer back on the speaker where it originally sat. I got to take all this content that you see on the floor. I got to compile it, and I got to put it back in its respective area. I mean, I got to put it back in the closet. I got to put it back on the bookshelf. I got to put it back on the entertainment center. I got to make sure anything that's electrical that was on the floor still works. There's a cable modem on the floor. There's a Wi-Fi modem on the floor. There's wires, as you can see, on the floor. It's just a real mess. It's about an hour worth of cleanup, okay? Now, what's nerve-wracking and probably, I guess, debilitating about this process is I'm going to do it over and over and over and over, because by me cleaning everything up, putting it back to where I thought it was, does not stop the poltergeist from doing it again. And trust me, they will do it again. And you get into this turmoil relationship to where me and Tina are now, we're now slaves of this poltergeist, okay? We are now at their beck and call, because this becomes a frequent, if not an everyday occurrence for, I would say, at least 3 months. And this is just one room at the house. This is just one room, but this room, more than the other room, was probably the one that was most hit. And going back to what we were talking about earlier of me taking, meticulous notes and documentation and the camera work, I believe why my office was ground zero for the majority of attacks is because of that very reason. This is where there's a portable hard drive you can see on the corner on the desk behind the turnover monitor. That's the portable hard drive. Full disclosure, that portable hard drive is missing. It was eventually taken. It's still gone. It has, I don't know, a half a terabyte of data, meaning of the activity of the audio, the video that the world has never seen, that I've never seen, that I never really got a chance to compile or analyze. But that hard drive with the little blue light on, if you can see it, that is gone. That was probably taken later on, because what I noticed is when I bring cameras into the home, the first few times this poltergeist would unplug a camera, okay? So I walk by a camera, it's unplugged. I asked Tina, did she unplug it? Of course she didn't. I plug it back in. 24 hours later, that camera is either turned upside down and unplugged, or it's gone, okay? So this, in my opinion, was their way of saying, cease and desist on what you're doing. The more cameras you bring into the house, we're going to either manipulate them, meaning electronically control them, or we're going to reconfigure them till they don't work properly, or we're just going to outright take them. And I can honestly say I have 60 cameras missing that were taken. Okay, 60. I probably bought 120 in my entire ordeal in the house. Out of the 120 that I bought, probably 3 were just utterly destroyed and were just powder form, looked like a pile of ash or sugar, because they just obliterated. They give you one warning. One warning is the unplugging of the camera or the turning it upside down or turning the lens to where it's facing the wall. But me, I plug it back in, I reconfigure it, and the next time they just take the camera. If they take the camera and I go out and buy more cameras, which I did, this is what they do to the office. You see the monitor down, you see the printer down, and eventually, like I said, the hard drive where I backed everything up. Everything was either on the computer hard drive, the portable hard drive, and after they took this hard drive is when I started backing everything up into the cloud, into the Dropbox, into the Google Drives, into all those things where you have the virtual hard drives on the internet, because this right here taught me a lesson of I can only capture the phenomena. As soon as I capture it, I got to upload it to the cloud, because this won't be here for long. This will not be here forever. This picture you see right here, this is probably one of the first, or is, office attacks. So I'm rewinding a little bit. You can see the chair, which I sit in, has been cut in half. Literally pulled from its stem. If you look at the right photo, you see the wheel, the 5 wheels or the tripod wheels or whatever on the floor. And you see the chair resting on the computer desk. Now, if you look closely, you see something, the chair, the stem, when I'm talking about the little thing coming underneath the chair, is resting on a book. Okay, is resting on a book. But if you look closer, this is a Bible. This is the Bible. This Bible was in the hallway. This Bible was in the hallway on the bookshelf, the infamous bookshelf where one Bible did catch fire. This Bible replaced that Bible. So the second Bible or the third Bible that caught fire in the hallway were burned. They were severely burned. They're useless. And for those who were not at the last Zoom meeting or are not familiar with the story, how the Bibles got introduced into the house was, we were advised when the activity was at its lowest that regardless of whatever your religious belief is, we're Christian, you want to display it openly. If you have crosses, if you have Bibles, if you have candles, now is the time to bring them out, okay? So I brought the Bibles out, and me and Tina would pray over the Bibles. We would open it to Proverbs or Psalms. We would recite certain chapters, and we would leave the Bible open to wherever page we just recited, either in the hallway bookshelf or downstairs on the coffee table. In this instance, the Bible was resting on the bookshelf in the hallway, but as you can see, it's been moved, okay? And not only that, the chair has been put on top of it. Now, parapsychologist Steve Mara, and Don Phillips and others, and myself included, I thought it was interesting that the Bible was moved, but I thought it was more interesting how the chair is positioned on top of the Bible. If you see it closely, you can see we'll call it a stem. The stem of the chair is pointing to a Bible verse, okay? It's pointing to a page in the Bible. This page, because the Bible is open, as you can see, was not the page we had open. That's not what we had open on the bookshelf, okay? And I can't remember off the top of my head what verse and chapter that is, but I will email Joyce so you can send it to everyone after this call, because I do have those notes of what verse and chapter where it was pointing to. I believe off the top of my head it was pointing to something in Hosea chapter, but I can send you the verse because that stem is pointing to a line, a direct line on the Bible page. And it's not what we left on the bookshelf. Now, the picture on the right, once again, if you look closely, you will see on the floor is an upside down cross.
Damn, sure.
As well, say that again.
I'm sorry.
Oh, hi. Who's this? Can you introduce yourself? We don't have a name.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Ed Swan. I just joined. I didn't realize I was unmuted. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I certainly wouldn't have spoke over Keith. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Are you Keith's friend? You're one of Keith's...
I'm actually somebody who's been following. I don't Mr. Linder and I aren't on a personal basis, but I'm somebody who's been following, certainly interested in the story.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just certainly here to listen.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Well, welcome, Ed. Yes. Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So there's two pictures, left and right. You see on the floor, on the right picture, is an upside down cross. You see on the left picture where the chair is resting on my computer desk, there is an upside down cross on the wall.
Correct.
What you see on the right of the upside down cross, what looks like a little black or mildew or burnt, what that is the leftover damage from the poster catching fire, which happened a week prior. Meaning the poster ignited on its own, caught fire, and that's what you see to the right of the cross on the wall. The interesting thing about the cross on the wall and the interesting thing about the cross on the floor, okay? Both of these crosses were drawn with a sage stick, okay? One of the things we were advised to do was to smudge occasionally, especially when the activities seemed to be ramping up. So what I did is I went out and bought sage sticks. I believe it was white sage. And me and Tina would smudge before going to bed. Now, I kept the sage stick where I kept the Bible, which is the hallway bookshelf. Okay? And we would go to work. Now, when I came home and saw this melee, I saw that the sage stick, like the Bible, had been moved. But the interesting thing about the sage stick is it was much shorter than when we left it that morning. And when I went to the wall and I scraped some of that residue off the wall and the floor, I realized that the Spirit had written both crosses or drawn using the sage stick, meaning it took the sage stick and it drew the upside down cross on the wall and it drew it on the floor. What you can't see, because this is me taking pictures of the office, behind me is my office door, is another upside down cross on the office door, the entry door, the door you walk into this room. But I want you to look toward the television on the picture to the right. You will see in front of the television, on the glass entertainment center, a camera. There is a Cisco camera, like a blue light, blue dot, that is facing the doorway. Okay, this is me trying to erect 3 cameras in one room. If you look at it closely, you can see that black camera is facing the doorway. If you look slightly to the left, you'll see a white camera facing the direction of the computer desk. 2 cameras relatively close to each other, facing different directions, because I noticed once I introduced cameras into a room or to a portion of the house, that they would, like I said earlier, either unplug a camera or they would take a camera. And I would always miss, meaning one camera would have something on it, the other would not. So I thought to myself, I need to put more cameras in the room, pretty much facing every direction, facing every direction. And these cameras are motion detection, infrared, sound detection cameras. They will, if motion is detected, send an email to my hard drive that you saw on my computer desk, as well as email me, send pictures to my inbox. I can tell you both cameras end up being destroyed, particularly the black one facing the door. When I got home and I saw these cameras still present, obviously I went to my computer to see what did they snapshot, what did they catch. They caught nothing. I had nothing waiting on me from these cameras when I checked them. What's weird, you probably may be asking yourself the question, what is that chair doing there? That chair that's sitting facing the television. That's going to be real important later on when I show a few more slides, because that chair, that's a kitchen chair. That chair is not supposed to be there. You already see my chair in the office broke in half, literally broke in half, resting on my computer desk. This is a kitchen chair. Now, me and Tina it's only us two living in the house, but we have 6 kitchen chairs. The only kitchen chair to ever inexplicably be relocated into another room in the house was the kitchen chair that I sat in when I ate dinner, breakfast, and lunch. This is my chair. This is the chair that I sit in downstairs, okay? This is the only chair that we ever found that made its way upstairs inexplicably, okay? Now it's weird, and I still haven't found out why, because I've read hundreds, if not thousands, of other poltergeist cases. I'm looking for similarities amongst all poltergeist cases, as many of you are. We're looking for similarities, trends, things that may have happened in one case that identically happened in another. Because to me, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but I don't think so, this chair, the way it's positioned and the way it's positioned in front of the television has to mean something. It has to mean something. And when you see the other slides later tonight, you're really going to be like, whoa, 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 okay, because trust me, you have not seen the last of this chair. Any questions so far?
Nope. Maybe
Okay.
later.
All right, let's make sure. Okay. Katy Perry weekend 2014. Like I was saying earlier, every room in our house has a story to tell or experience activity. And for me, the office, compared to all the other rooms, had the most activity. There's a segment in my first book, The Bothell House, where I talk extensively about a weekend known as the Katy Perry weekend. Some of y'all are familiar, or maybe not familiar. Katy Perry is an artist, she's a singer. Why do I call this the Katy Perry weekend? Okay, this story I'm about to tell you, this incident I'm about to share happened mid-spring, early summer of 2014. This was when the activity had returned. Remember, me and Tina moved in 2012. We had in 2012 probably, I would say, from May up until November, what I would consider level 1 activity. Then it came to an abrupt stop. And then 2013, we had 0 activity. We went a year, maybe 2 months without activity. But what I always want to reiterate, in 2013, where we had no activity, none of the items that were taken in 2012 were ever returned, including Bible number 1. All those items were never returned. We never found them. They're still missing to this day. In 2013, 0 activity. In early 2014 is when the activity returned. And as some have said, and I believe it's true because I lived it, when it comes back, it's worse than before. It's always worse. I can vouch for that. I can literally tell anybody, yes, if it comes back, it's worse. So this weekend is week 2 of the activity coming back. And I call it Katy Perry weekend, as you're about to find out. So it was a Friday, I believe, late spring, early summer. Me and Tina had already experienced one Bible catching fire. We already experienced one Bible catching fire. We've already experienced large objects being thrown, like an armoire, like a bar stool, plants, pottery, ironing board, iron, candle holder, cast iron, candle holder. Loud bangs were relentless. Door slams were relentless. They happened every night. And then the waking up and discovering of your kitchen cabinet doors open. I mean, all of them open. This was preceding this, but the most horrific so far was the first Bible that caught fire. Now, the week later, after that first Bible caught fire, it was a Friday. It was a weeknight. It was a Friday. And I was in my office. Tina was downstairs watching television. And out of the blue, like most of the phenomena happens, out of the blue, loud music starts coming. We hear loud music. Loud music is coming from our master bedroom, which is upstairs. I'm upstairs in my office. Tina's is downstairs watching TV. Loud music is blazing out of our master bedroom. I run out of my office to our bedroom, and I see Tina coming up the stairs. She's responding, and the TV is playing music, but the TV, the picture is black. There's nothing on the television, but music is coming out of the TV, okay? I look at Tina, Tina looks at me, and we both know that we did not turn the TV on. I mean, the music is loud. And I turned the TV off, okay? And Tina looks at me and we're like, that's weird. That's never happened before. We know, but we don't know. We know it's haunting related, but we don't know. It's weird. We're not really trying to go there. It's a Friday evening. We've had strange things happen, and I retreat back into my office. Tina retreats back downstairs, and we just go about our life. I go back to watching TV or be on the computer. Tina goes back downstairs to watching TV. The next move is always the Poltergeist. The move is always, the next move is them. They did this, we did that. Now they have to respond, and they do respond. 5 minutes later, the music blasts again. It's blasting. I run out of my office. I go to the room. Tina comes running upstairs behind me again. And the music is blasting again. This is 5 minutes later. I'm looking at the TV, and it's not showing the picture, but it's playing loud music. I then know we're being haunted. I said, we're being haunted. The spirits are restless. They're messing with us. They're toying with us. I'm going to unplug the TV now. I'm through playing with the remote control. I'm not going to touch the power button. I'm just going to unplug the TV from the wall. And believe me, when I say this is true, this is what my reaction was when I did this. I unplugged the TV from the wall. Tina looking right at me. I felt a sense of accomplishment. I felt, aha, spirits, I killed that idea for you. You're not going to be able to do that again. I unplugged it from the wall. That settles that, okay? We're done with that. We're done with the TV, playing with the TV for the night, okay? It's like I'm talking to a kid, but I don't know what I'm talking to. I go back into my office. Tina goes back downstairs. 5 minutes later, loud music starts blasting again. I'm in my office, sitting in my chair, and I hear loud music, and I'm like, as I'm getting up, heading toward the bedroom again, I'm thinking to myself, oh wow, this is very daring on their part. This is very, daring because I know I unplugged the TV. Tina was there. Tina saw me unplug the TV. I'm hearing music. This is what I'm thinking as I'm walking into the room. I know I unplugged it. Tina saw me, and I'm walking into this room. Wow, that's pretty daring. That's pretty bold for them to plug it back in into the wall and play music again. That's pretty bold on their part. Okay, hats off to it. I get into the room. Guess what? The TV is still unplugged. The TV is blasting music, and the TV is not plugged in to the wall, to the socket. But I look at Tina, and then I realize something. I'm like, wait a minute, we've been dealing with this for the last 15 minutes. This is the same song. Wait a minute. This is the same song over and over. And then I know this song. I know because this song, believe it or not, was I think the #1 song in the country at this time. So I said, well, I look at Tina, I'm like, I know this song. I like, but it's been playing over and over, and I know the song enough to know it's not 15 minutes long. The song is not 15 minutes long. It's about 3.5 minutes long. But the only thing that's playing over and over is what I showed you right here. Now, this is what we heard loudly coming from our room. And anybody later on, Google this song, go to YouTube, go to Spotify, whatever, and listen to this song. The name of the song is written by Katy Perry. It's called A Dark Horse. That's the name of the song. The title of the song is called A Dark Horse. The verse that we hear 3 times is because I plugged the TV 3 times, is, so you want to play with magic. Boy, you should know what you're falling for. Baby, do you dare to do this? Because I'm coming at you like a dark horse. Are you ready? Ready for a perfect storm? A perfect storm. Because once you're mine, there's no going back. Now, the full lyrics of the song gets worse than this, but this is what we hear for 15 minutes. And my mind was just blown because this was Friday. And I viewed this, or it was, a precursor of the Saturday and the Sunday attacks I'm about to talk about, because what it was saying is, so you want to play with magic. You should know what you're falling for. Do you dare to do this? I'm coming at you like a dark horse. It's sort of using biblical references of the 4 horsemen, the dark horse, of saying, I'm coming at you like a storm, like a perfect storm. And, I talk about this a lot in my 3rd book, Poltergeist, The Night Side of Physics, because #1, the TV was not plugged in. And how is it able to channel this song, this music, to my TV? #1, it's not plugged in, but to my TV, period. And it specifically chose this verse to repeat 3 times. Now, there's a lot of things that happen in 3s in our house, and that's a whole nother Zoom meeting. But after we saw this the 3rd time, this didn't happen anymore. I unplugged the TV again, and I looked at Tina, and I was like, I'm going to go Google that song and hope and pray it doesn't play it again. It never played it again, only 3 times. And the 3rd time is when the television was unplugged. Katy Perry, when interviewed, described the song that she wrote. She said, the song is a juxtaposition as a witchy and dark. What she wrote, I wanted to go witchy, I wanted to be dark. It's written from a perspective of a witch warning a man not to fall in love with her. And if so, she would be his last. That's Katy Perry. That's why Katy Perry said she wrote the song. That's where her mind was at when she wrote the song. These lyrics and this description is going to really pay dividends tomorrow when we talk about the succubus encounters. Okay, so kitchen cabinet doors. This happened a lot. I can't tell you how many times me and Tina, even in 2012, would wake up in the morning and discover or find all our kitchen cupboards open. Somebody asked me, and somebody's probably already thinking this, do not know what that blue thing is on the microwave screen. I did not see that with the naked eye when I took the picture. It appeared on the digital, as you can see. I cannot make out what that is. I don't know what that is. I'm talking about the microwave. You look at the microwave, you see something blue. I don't know what that is. All I can tell you is in 2012, within weeks of moving into the house, probably 2 months or so, when we started finding kid toys that neither one of us owned, we had no kids, and we would wake up in the morning, we would find the kitchen cupboards open. It's true, the previous tenants, Rhonda, who lived in the house 2008, 2009, experienced this as well. She told me on numerous occasions when I found her, the previous tenant who lived in the house 5 years before we did, that they would occasionally wake up and come downstairs and find kitchen cupboards open. I've read countless other Poltergeist cases where this phenomena has happened. It seems in all the cases that I've read, mine included, that it always happens at the beginning of the phenomena. It doesn't necessarily taper off. Some campaigns, what I call the kitchen cabinet campaign, last for the extension or for the duration of the haunting. Some are just early phases. We've had both. This went on for about 2 months in 2012. Nothing in 2013, but when the activity came back in 2014, this became, like all the other phenomena, a daily occurrence. 2 instances where we would find this in the mornings or coming home from work. Okay, coming home from work, and you would find this, just the kitchen cupboards open. Other Poltergeist cases I know speak of the kitchen cupboards open and all the contents in the shelves are splattered on the floor. I'm glad ours didn't get that. This portion of the haunting didn't get that extreme because that would have been a lot. You're talking about a considerable amount of mess when the Poltergeist not only opens up the kitchen cabinets as you see here, but it empties, like you saw in my office, where my closet was emptied and everything was emptied onto the floor. I cannot even imagine. Even everything I've seen and witnessed with my naked eye, I cannot imagine everything in our kitchen being emptied. That would have just been a bridge too far. But this right here was, like I said, Saturday or after the Katy Perry song. So remember, the Katy Perry song was on a Friday. Saturday, the day after the Katy Perry song, I went to go have dinner with coworkers, with friends. I left Tina at home. Up until that point, neither one of us, and this is interesting, up until this point, neither one of us has ever experienced a haunting alone. And what I mean is an attack, okay? We've never been in the house and been attacked. It's always been both of us in the home. We might be in multiple parts of the house, but we're always home. Remember the first plant we saw levitate, we saw together because we was watching a movie together, but we've always been in the home. All bets are off after the Katy Perry song because I never would have left Tina alone in the home had my brain even entertained the thought of what is about to happen. And the Poltergeists are experts at spontaneity. They are ambush demons, in my opinion. They live on the edge of spontaneity, of surprising you, of catching you off guard. Because when I went to have dinner with my friends, Tina was at home on a normal Saturday afternoon. Now, how this story unfolds, because remember, I was not present. Tina told me the story when I came home and saw that the house was attacked. I was gone. Tina was in the kitchen cooking dinner, loading up the dishwasher. And Tina said that she heard a loud crash. Okay? She heard a loud crash in the kitchen. And she said it came from upstairs. And she said it sounded like a piano crash. She said it was thunderous, it was loud. And she went to investigate. She went upstairs to where she thought the noise had came from. And that was the hallway. She gets to the hallway. Obviously, we don't own a piano. Just FYI, we don't own a piano. She gets to the hallway, nothing to be found. Everything looks normal. All of a sudden, the lights in the hallway, all of them, start blinking off and on. When she walks closer to the glass dome, she stands up under it. She looks at the glass dome. The porcelain glass dome explodes. It pops. There was a pop, she said, and an explosion. Okay? Tina said she grabbed her purse and her cell phone and left the house. She ran out the house. Okay? I get to the house 2 hours later. I've not heard from Tina. Now you're like, well, would she call you for something like that? Yes. When I got home from my dinner with friends, I walked in the door. I see this melee. I see this. I see this. I see, similar to this, similar to this. I definitely see this. And Tina is nowhere to be found because Tina's car is gone. I pull up to my driveway. Tina's car is gone. So I'm thinking as I'm walking into the house, Tina went out with her friends. Okay, that's fine. It's a Saturday evening. That's fine. But when I see this melee and I don't see her car, I panic. I'm like, where is Tina? I pull up my phone. Now, the first reaction, and this is anybody on today's call, reaction would be, if you came home and saw this and your wife or spouse or husband was gone, the first thing you're going to do is pull out your cell phone, right? And look to see, why hasn't she called me? I have no calls from Tina. I looked at my phone. I have 0 calls from Tina. Now, I called Tina from my house. I'm standing in the hallway looking at all this, and I'm calling her. And it's going straight to voicemail. Maybe 30 minutes or so, Tina returns home. And she is mad, she's scared, she's upset, she's really upset. But she's upset with me. Me opening the door to let her in, seeing that she's in one piece, thinking, oh my God, you're alive. Oh my God, you're in one piece. Oh my God, I was about to call the hospital, the ER. Where you been? Oh, because I'm looking at all this mess. And Tina's walking in. I'm just thankful that she's standing up. And we're on 2 different wavelengths intellectually or emotionally, because I'm glad to see her, but I want to know what happened. I know hell happened, but I want to hear it from her, but I want to make sure she's okay. Tina is mad. And me, I can't really understand why she's mad, because she's mad at me. So I asked her, hey, why are you mad? She said, I tried to call you. I'm like, no, you didn't. No, she said, no, I've been blowing your phone up for the last 2 hours. And I'm like, no, you haven't. And I pulled out my phone. I'm like, look. I have no missed calls from you. None. And she looked at my phone, but she was so bad she wasn't even buying that because she's like, I tried to reach you, and this is what happened. She said, this, and she told me the story of what happened. She said, the lights blew up in my face. The bulb, the dome blew up in my face. And glass and stuff and shard and stuff went everywhere. I grabbed my purse. I got out the house. And I tried to call you. I tried to call you from down the street. I tried to call you 2 miles away. And I had to go sit in the gas station. I was fed, and you never answered. You never answered. And I'm like, then I have no call from you. And I want people to understand that no call from you was because this happened before or happened soon after. When this type of activity happens, we notice when this type of activity happens in our house, all the communication lines, for lack of a better word, are cut. There's no signal getting out of the Bothell house. Now, what do I mean by that? Second story. When the poster caught fire, just to rewind, when the poster caught fire, that was my first time being attacked. Tina was attacked first, then I was attacked. Now, when I was attacked and the poster caught fire, I was in the shower in the morning. Tina's at work, or she's on her way to work. The fire alarms go off in my house, and I run out the shower because I know the house is being attacked. I don't know I'm being attacked. I think the house is. And when I run downstairs or when I call 911 to report the fire, every time the operator on the other end, I remember as plain as day. Hello, 911, what's your emergency? Hello, this is Keith Linder. I'm at da-da-da-da-da house. I have a fire to report. I need some assistance. Okay, sir, you have a fire? All right, what's going on with it? You got to contain, da-da-da-da-da. No, I think so. I don't know. I don't know. Can you get somebody here right away? There's smoke everywhere. Smoke is everywhere. I'm panicking. I'm frantic. He said, okay, sir, give me your address. Every time I tried to give the operator my address, I'm talking about my street address, the interference and the static on the phone became so loud and unbearable, the operator couldn't hear it. So I would say, my address is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and before I can get the words out of my mouth, the phone would just go screeching and staticky, and he's like, sorry, sir, I can't hear you. Can you say that again? I'll say it a second time. It would break up. Only the time when it's time to give her the numerical address would the interference kick in. Sorry, sir, can you say it a third time? I'm like, listen, this is my address, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then finally, the third or fourth time, she got it. She got it. And that instance and other instances of Tina calling me calling Tina, where the other person on the phone, meaning if I called Tina or she called me, my phone has no missed calls from her. If I called Tina, her phone has no missed calls. I would get her voicemail. Tina would get my voicemail. But my phone has 0 missed calls. So, and this was the Saturday. This is the morning after. This is the picture of the same hallway. The next day, the left picture, you see the broken glass. That's the glass that Tina said exploded. Going back to here, this is very important. You see on the left picture, you see the wiring pulled down from the walls. The light, the light fixture was yanked. This happened more than on one occasion. That dome, there's no dome there anymore, just a bulb. It's just a bulb. And the light is pulled out from the ceiling. And the glass, now, the glass right here, you see all this glass, all this debris. The book you see on the floor to the right, on the right picture, that was the Bible that was resting on the bookshelf. Okay. The picture on the right, if you sort of look toward the left, we're talking about the picture on the right, that's the sage stick holder. That's the wooden, I forgot what they call that holds the sage stick or the incense. You know, you burn incense, you put that stem in there. That's on the floor. The sage stick, you can see it's on the middle, almost in the middle of the floor, next to the Bible. I don't know if you can see my mouse. I can see that. That's the sage stick. Over here on the left, like I said, this is the glass. These shards you see. Here's a before. This is the picture taken days before the incident, where you see the incense tray, Bible, ashtray, candle, cross. These things are on the floor. Thrown on the floor. They're not seated on the floor, thrown on the floor. This is a side-by-side view of before and after of Bible, sage stick. This right here, this is the little foam that comes from underneath the light fixture, little filament or whatever, that keeps you from getting electrocuted. I don't know what they call it. It looks like a fiberglass material. Sunday. So that was Saturday. Sunday, we woke up that morning. This is the morning. This is Sunday. This is the same day. We woke up. Obviously, we had some cleaning up to do. We did. That took about half of the morning. The hole you see in the wall, that happened weeks prior. That is because when candles or other objects are thrown, they get lodged into the wall. And we had considerable damage done to the Bothell house. I'm talking about inside the Bothell house. I spent a lot of money repairing damages done to rooms, to walls, to ceilings, to floor, to carpet. Once again, this is a rental facility. This is a rental unit. I spent, I want to say, close to about 10,000 US dollars cash to repair damage that the Poltergeist did. All these things you see right here are not cheap fixes. These things, I mean, nobody faking anything is going to do this. This is very dangerous stuff. When you get into the electrical of yanking electrical from outlets and from walls, you don't know what can happen. You could start an accidental fire, electrical fire, shortage, do something considerable damage. Things could, take on a life of their own, if you will. But going back to Sunday morning after the cleanup, where were we at mentally? I would say our mental faculty that morning, keep in mind we have a support system. It's a weak support system, but we'll take anything, everything that happens to us. We call the church. We alert the clergy. We tell paranormal teams and investigators who are on the case per se. We're keeping multiple groups apprised of all the activity, of everything. I wish the clergy of the church could live in our house, but obviously they have other demands to do so. We have to keep them apprised. I'm calling them, I'm emailing them. The reason why these pictures exist because I have to take a picture of everything to send to people. It's one thing telling somebody, but I have to send you a picture to really bring the point home. Now, what this is we woke up this morning, cleaned up, we saged and smudged a little bit, we prayed a little bit, and the mood still felt heavy. The house still felt like something can go off any minute. We're 48 hours or close to 48 hours after the Katy Perry song. And so far, she's keeping her promise. So one of the things I did is we had a candle in our bedroom. I think it was either raspberry or apple scent candle. And I wanted to burn it to maybe put some fragrance in the air. Sage, it's sage, but it's not the most attractive thing to smell in a home. But I lit the candle in our master bedroom, and I left it burning because I wanted the house, or the bedroom especially, to fill up with something more pleasant than sage, And I retreated to my office. I went to my office to start documenting and compiling all this craziness we've had so far. And that morning, I came out of my office and I noticed that the Bible that was resting on the bookshelf is gone. Bible's gone. Now, the bookshelf, from proximity-wise to my bedroom, not that far. This is the bookshelf. The second picture where you see the hallway is I'm standing in my office doorway to take that picture, or the guest bedroom doorway. Not far. All the rooms are relatively close to each other. So you see the Bible there. This is the night before. This morning, Sunday morning, I'm in my office. I'm going downstairs to refill my cup of coffee. And I passed the bookshelf and I noticed the book is gone. The Bible is gone. So I said, Tina, come here. I want her to witness this. I know she's going to believe me. I said, hey, the Bible's gone. Okay. Now I go downstairs to make a pot of coffee. And we all know it doesn't take long for coffee to be made. I'm talking about a pot. So I make my pot and I go back upstairs while the coffee is brewing. And maybe take 4 minutes at the most. I go back upstairs, I get into my office, and 5 minutes later, okay, the coffee maker should be done. The coffee maker should be done. I come back downstairs, and when I get to the kitchen, there's a little kitchen island. This is what's resting on the kitchen island, okay? This is the Bible that was on the bookshelf upstairs that morning. This is the Bible that we woke up to on the bookshelf. Obviously, it wasn't in this condition. I was just downstairs 5 minutes ago. This wasn't here. The book is severely burned. You don't smell smoke. You don't even smell, when you put your nose up to it, you don't even smell smoke. All you do is see a book sitting in the middle of your kitchen that was once upstairs, that was once in perfect condition, looking like this. And a few hours later is when I went back to my office. This is a close-up shot of the pages of the incinerated Bible. This is Bible number 2. This is the second Bible to be in this condition. This right here, I got it sort of in incorrect order on my slide, but this happened after the Bible. I went upstairs after the Bible. We discovered the Bible, and when we discover things like this, me and Tina, we have to talk about it for a while. There's a moment of, I don't believe what I'm saying. This is, what does this mean? This is Bible number 2. Okay, let's call some people. Let's call. We're not going to get to church because it's Sunday. We're not going to talk to them. Obviously, they're in service right now. So okay, but we talk. And this is interesting because I love to cook. I cook all the time, and my fire alarm system in my house are pretty sensitive to smoke. And things that I burn, toast or leave in the oven too long, or sometimes I just open the oven door just to check on the status of something, and my alarms go off. There's no fire. I just open up the oven door. we've all been there. When we had those sensitive fire alarms, and your alarms go off, and you fan it down, and they go off. You know, okay, no harm done. But man, you guys are sensitive. Okay, but that's a good thing. You're gonna save my life on that. This, however, sets off no alarms. Okay, nothing rings, nothing goes off. It's just a burnt book resting on the kitchen island table. So I go back upstairs, and maybe midday, a long time had transpired. This wall you see is right outside my office door, right outside. And I had been in my room for maybe 4 hours without stepping out of it. And the candle that I had left burning in my bedroom, in me and Tina's bedroom, is still burning. I walked out of my office to check on things because I've been in my office for 4 hours, and it just seemed like now's the time to survey the house, you know, see what Tina's doing, see if the house is still okay. It's just too quiet. And then I see this on the wall. This is what's on the wall. Now, as soon as I saw, I called Tina, and I knew as soon as I saw, I was like, "Oh, this is wax. This is wax. This is red, cherry red, raspberry wax, colored wax." And I remember to Tina because I'm like, "Wait a minute, we got a candle burning, similar color." And so me and Tina both walk into the master bedroom, and the candle is still burning. It's a glass candle holder. But as you all know, when you burn a candle, especially for half a day or several hours, the melted wax builds up a pond or puddle, if you will, that surrounds the flame or whatever they call that, right? So you've accumulated melted wax because it's in a jar. It's in a glass clear jar, and you've got about maybe 2 or 3 inches of melted wax, of red melted wax around the candle. The candle's still burning. And I was like, wait a minute. I picked up the glass candle, and I walked it into the hallway to where this was. I took it out of the bedroom and walked right here. And I knew right then and then that the wax on this wall had came from that candle. Now, if you look closely, you can see, go from left to right or right to left, you know, pick which direction you want to go. You will see that this is interesting. This is weird in the sense of when me and Tina tried to reduplicate, because I'm like, how did they do this? How did they, because I've been in my office all day. There's no way, you know, you took my candle from the office and walked it over here to the wall, because I would have saw a floating candle. That would have been a sight to see. I would have saw a candle floating in midair or whatever, but no. And how did you do this? So me and Tina watched, and there's a video, if y'all want to watch the video on YouTube, there's a video of this on YouTube. I tried to duplicate this, meaning there's enough wax in the candle, glass candle jar for me to try to recreate this. I want to see how this is done. Now, when I put the rim of the jar to the wall and tried to pour the melted wax onto my wall, I figured I already got this wax. One more, it's not going to hurt anything. The melted wax from my pouring, from the angle and from the height and from the roundness of the jar itself, the wax does not run on the wall. The wax runs down the wall of the jar. You know, if you ever get a glass of water or a wine or something and you try to, you know, you pour it back into the bottle or something, you notice, and you make more of a mess trying to get it back into the original jar it came from, because it doesn't run, or all of it. 85% of it runs down the bottle or down the jar and then runs down your arm. You ever seen that? And you're like, oh man, I'm making more of a mess. I'm trying to preserve this liquid, but I'm making more of a mess trying to preserve it. Oh, what the hell? So I'm trying to pour the melted wax on the wall, but all the wax will do is run down the jar and it's hot. This wax is hot. Run down the jar and run down my arm, which was hot. So I had to stop it. Well, this is not getting it. I'm making a mess. But I could not get on multiple tries, I think 4 attempts, with me pouring to get anything looking like that.
Keith, can I ask, do you think they were making it so that it looked like blood dripping down?
Yes, yes.
It's very
because
neat.
that was my mental, good question. That was my mental and Tina's knee-jerk reaction, knee-jerk thought, because you walk out of your room and you're like, blood. Oh, because your brain, Hollywood psychologically makes you think the worst, right? You're like, oh my God, blood. Sort of like the 666 thing. So when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, blood. Oh, blood. Oh man, they're introducing blood into the haunting. This is a bridge too far. This will never work. But in this, and I think this what saved me and Tina, me especially, was as soon as I let that thought maybe run for 10 seconds, I always come back to the common sense rationale of, wait a minute, I got wax burning in the other room the same color, but it's easy. And that's why I showed you this, because I wanted people to see this and first think, oh my gosh, blood, oh my gosh, they're sacrificing animals, get out of there now. Because I want you to have the same thought, or I hope some of you had the same thought I had when I initially saw this, because this looks horrible. This looks like Carrie 10 or Michael Myers Come Home, right? So, and that's what they want, because what the Poltergeist, what I've noticed, ours, I can only speak to ours, but I think it pertains to other Poltergeist cases, is the Poltergeist wants the house occupant to overreact, to overcorrect or overcompensate, because I can see this, and if I don't have my wits about me, and I can see this, I can run down my stairs and break my neck running down the stairs. It's like the whole scenario of, I don't know if you've ever seen it, where, if you're afraid of spiders, right, and you get the blowtorch and burn your house down because of one little spider, it's like, dude, why go heavy-handed on fixing whatever it is you're dealing with? Because your mind can go there. Our mind went there. It did. Not only on this, but on every other instance. You see something and you think the worst, you're like, oh my God, this is blood. Oh my gosh, But then you realize, wait, hold on. I got burning wet. Now it's still interesting, it's still weird, it's still scary, because like I said, the Poltergeist holds all the cards. I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know where they're going with none of this. Where does this end? When does this movie end? There's no rhyme or reason or rationale as to, okay, except for the fact that they want you to stop whatever it is you're doing. This right here was hard to clean up, okay? Wax, when it cools down on a wall, is hard to clean up. And let me tell you, when you clean it up, you cannot help but do damage to the wall, because there's paint underneath this, there's primer underneath this, and all that is ruined. I mean, this wall right, I gotta pay money after I clean it. This is not soap and warm water is not gonna fix this problem. I have to peel this off meticulously, and while I'm peeling it off, I'm peeling off paint, I'm peeling off, primer. The wall is ruined. Now I got another wall to deal with. It already had a hole in it. It's got 2 nicks in it. And now I got to deal with it. And the whole time they're watching, the Poltergeist is watching. And it's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to just, throw everything down and go full anger mode and just say, all right, Poltergeist, I'm going to sage the house with 20 sage sticks. I'm going to buy 200 cameras. I'm going to buy 300 Bibles. And it's war. And that's what they want you to do. They're like, yes. Go give it to us. Keep giving to us. Because they can do this all day. This is Poltergeist can do this all day, but me and Tina had to fight, and it's not easy. I don't want to ever make it seem that it was easy, because it wasn't. Maintain a level of being grounded, of saying, okay, I see what this is. Like I said, that's where that support system came in, of calling friends, calling family, calling the church, calling the paranormal teams and letting them know. And then they tell you, don't overreact. You see 666 on your wall. Hey, don't think devil incarnate. Don't think this. Poltergeist, they're going to feed off that fear. They're going to really go after you then. And they did. They did. On elements that we overreacted, they did. So this was the 3-day of the Katy Perry weekend of One Bible, Catching Fire, The Wall Wax, Tina's Attack. All happened in 3 consecutive days after we heard that song. Now, that's just one weekend out of probably 52 or more weekends of pure hell. But the song was the precursor of it all, of letting us know things are going to get significantly worse. Things are going to get significantly dangerous for you two. Because are you ready for the perfect storm, the perfect storm? I'll pause now. Any questions?
Quick one. Keith, that Bible where it was open to Proverbs 30 and 31, was that already open on that page when the fire happened, before the fire happened?
I can tell you the Bible is open to probably somewhere in Proverbs. Mm-hmm. What you can't see here is there are multiple pages burnt and incinerated. So I'm pretty sure we did not have it open to Proverbs 30. If I'm thinking, we probably had it open to Proverbs 21. But as you can see, if you look at the left going rightward, there's multiple pages that start up at the top left corner and work their way down. You can see the lattice of pages that have wilted and folded up and have been incinerated. Mm-hmm. And you can see that these are pages. So I'm of the belief that this page is just one of the pages that survived. But I don't think we left it on Proverbs 30. Usually we did Proverbs, I think it was 21, if my memory is right, of whatever the Lord's Prayer is. I think it's Proverbs 21, something to that effect.
Okay. Don, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So Keith, going back, you mentioned that there was a period where...
I can barely hear you.
It might help if I actually put the microphone on here. How about that?
Okay, way better.
Okay, good. So going back to where you started now, you mentioned that there was a period where the activity just simply stopped, and it stopped for like a year and 2 months or something like that, right? And then, and then all of this other stuff sort of happened. Now, looking back on this now, was there something about that year where it stopped that you can sort of like say, why that happened, or did it occur during certain months, or, was the activity before and after the same, or was it two different things? I mean, any sort of analysis there?
Yeah, good question. So in 2012, the year we moved into the home, May of 2012, and I tell people, and I put this in the book, the activity that we had in 2012, there needs to be some sort of consensus among all the paranormal orgs of the different levels of poltergeist activity. I think we can really quantify that. If we study all poltergeist cases, I think if we put our heads together as a whole, as a collective, come up with a chart, if you will, of the phases or levels of activity, because we see that in hurricanes and tornadoes and whatnot, earthquakes. They have levels defined to them. You know what a level 4 tornado is because by the wind, miles per hour. Same thing with a hurricane. I think poltergeist can be quantified that same way with the activity. So me, I created my temporary one pertaining to the Bothell house. I give the activity that me and Tina experienced in 2012 a level 1. My definition of a level 1, and this is just for the Bothell house, is items went missing, items that neither one of us owned appeared. We were finding items that neither one of us owned, kid toys. Waking up, finding your kitchen cabinet doors open in the morning, like I showed you. Loud bangs, 3 loud bangs, phantom footsteps, and a door slam, meaning doors would slam in the middle of the night while you're taking a bath or shower, and small objects thrown. That was in the one apparitional sighting of the Gray Lady. That's pretty much the totality of the activity of 2012. Okay. Yeah, it's activity, but compared to what I'm going to get into tonight and what others on here know about, it pales in comparison because just by the activity itself. Then in 2013, we had 0. It went from level 1 to 0, and it tapered off. It wasn't abrupt side. It tapered off, like I said, November 2012, and then nothing for the majority for all of 2013. What did we do? I don't know. I've looked at it. I've looked at it from different angles to say what did we do, because obviously, if I can figure out what we did, and I was thinking this like you were thinking it now, if I can figure out what we did, I can do that again in 2014. But I couldn't figure out nothing because things tapered off. And as we know, after reading other poltergeist cases, that's how it happens. Things taper off. There's a campaign from weeks to months to years. It's debatable, but some poltergeist cases last weeks, months, some last year. This one evidently tapered off after, I would say, a series of 8 months of what I've just described. Then 2013 came, nothing. Now, when the activity came back, what I found very interesting was it came back as described, as I read in literature, it's going to come back worse than before. And remember, when we got introduced to the poltergeist in 2012, the first thing we saw that we knew without a shadow of a doubt was paranormal related was when the plant levitated in front of our eyes. But that's levitation. It's not dangerous per se, but it's levitation. It's not deemed malevolent. What happened, the first activity that happened in 2014 was the throwing, I repeat, the throwing of a 300 plus pound armoire in the hallway from one side to the other in the middle of the night. There was no plant, there was no light flickering. It was boom, woke us up in the middle of the night. We're rushing out the house. We didn't even think it was what it was until we got to when we saw it. And we knew then they were back. Tina busted out crying. We knew they were back. It was no doubt in our mind they were back. And then from that point on, everything after that was brand new. They're not throwing the small stuff like before. They're throwing the large stuff. Case in point, the giant armoire. So that what I would classify as the level 3, and it transitions relatively quickly. It can go from 2, 3 to 4 in a matter of days, if not weeks. And we saw all of that. I would put that in the definite level 3. When the poster caught fire, the Bible caught fire, this Bible, the other Bible, we're probably dealing with level 4 activity because it's this activity plus everything I've already said. The objects are louder, bigger. They're more frequent. You know, but you could usually give yourself 36 hours between activity in 2012. Now it's you can give yourself maybe 11 hours uh, of difference between the next shoe falling off, uh, because things are just more frequent and rapid fire. You know, we had so much. I mean, this explosion, Tina, and all that stuff that happened multiple times, and it's happening for hours. I mean, it can start at 8 a.m. and go all the way to 5 p.m. in the day. And you can leave, you can come back, and they resume. It's like, okay, you're back, let's resume. It's like taking a needle off a record player, you know, and putting it back on where you left off. It just resumed. So yeah, so to answer your question, I wish I knew what made it taper off in 2012. I don't know. I don't know what silver bullet, if there was one. But I can tell you, I have my suspicion on why it came back in 2014. 2014, January 2nd, I had a weird fall. I was coming downstairs for a glass of water, and it was January 2nd. And I'm excited about the new year, you know, and I fell. I got up to the middle portion of the landing of the stairs, and I slipped and I fell. It was bad, and I broke my right patella tendon. My kneecap had severed. You're talking about immense pain, aggravation. I had to have surgery to reattach it. I was 6 weeks confined to the upstairs bedroom. I couldn't go anywhere. I had surgery, and the rehabilitation was 6 weeks. So I'm homebound. And Tina's going to work now. And when I woke up every morning and just me in the home, and this is mid-February, late February, early March, as I'm healing, I'm hearing noises in the kitchen. I'm upstairs, and I'm hearing noises like kitchen cupboards being open, like somebody walking around the house, walking right outside the bedroom door. I would sometimes blurt out, Tina, is that you? Are you home? Because I'm thinking maybe she came home and didn't tell me because I'm asleep. The noise is what woke me up. But Tina's not home. And I would get up, limp out of bed, get my crutches, walk to the landing, look over the rail, and see nothing. The noise would stop. And then a few weeks after that was when the kitchen armoire got thrown. I think there's some linkage to my injury. Well, I know that. I'm thinking, well, I know there is, because when Steve Mara and Don Phillips were here and they lived in the house, one of the first EVPs or questions they asked when they got here was because they wanted to know. You know, I told them everything about the case, and they wanted to know. And one of the goals of paranormal research is to understand, is the phenomena out to hurt the house occupants, you know? And Steve and Don were very sincere. They asked, did you push Keith Linder down the stairs? And this is what I said, and I'm quoted. This is what the EVP said. We pushed him down the stairs. This is what they captured on their audio device. Now, the word "we" always haunts me to this day, you know. Yeah. And they were very nonchalant about it in their response of, we pushed him down the stairs. And they played that to me. And I always suspected, because it was a weird fall. I go up and down my stairs thousands of times. Why would I fall? I would say it was just a weird fall. And they asked maybe 2 years later when they came to visit the house, and it must have been the same spirit, because they said, we pushed them down the stairs. And I think something about that stair, that injury, me being bedridden for 6 weeks, triggered the activity. You know, it's weird. I don't know. It's just weird. You know, it's almost, you know, you have people. There's other poltergeist cases of, you know, people moving into a home, and you know the activity erupts. There's other poltergeist cases where people make renovations to a home, just sincere home renovations. You know, you have a home renovation project, and boom, explosion erupts. You know, were the spirits there all the time, but it was the home renovation that awakened them? Or you have somebody who's going through, you know, the turmoil, you know, the abuse, the hardship, the vexation. But no, it's interesting. The question is interesting.
Wow. Right, I think we need to go for break now, about 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and have some more. Do you have much more for your talk or to go, Keith?
I think we're at the halfway point.
Halfway point. Oh, okay. All right. So we'll come back after 10 minutes. How about that?
Okay, 10 minutes.
Yeah. Are you there, Keith?
Keith is here. I'm
Yeah.
here.
You're there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, you're here? Okay, cool. Just want to quickly ask, because when you were talking about the poltergeist manifestations, a lot of them had cult kind of manifestations, like like the Bible burning and the blood and the upside down cross, the 666. Do you think that there were some former residents who were Satanists and might have done some rituals in that house?
I don't think so, but I can tell you, there's a lot of weird things. Hindsight being 2020, and the ability to recollect. There were some weird things when me and Tina first moved into the house. When we first got the tour of the house, which was April, a month before we moved in. One of the things we saw as we were touring the house, and this was in every room of the house, meaning all the bedrooms and even in the living room, there were in the carpet, there were these, in the middle, were these seared patterns into the carpet. It was very noticeable to the point that it was either Tina or me when we asked the landlord, because we were like, hey, what's up with these markings in the middle of the floor? And it's not something you could, throw Clorox bleach or get the carpet cleaner to rub. But no, this is seared into the carpet. And we asked them, hey, what's with these markings on the floor in every room? And he was very nonchalant and acquiesced, and he said, I don't know what that is. It was left here by a previous tenant, but you're more than welcome, you and Tina, because it's in the middle of the carpet. It's nothing you could put a furniture over, because it's in the middle of the carpet. And he said, you and Tina are more than welcome to have a professional come in and cut that out, cut a square or rectangle out and have new carpet stitched in. And we did. He said, you can do that and send me the bill, or just take, whatever expense you pay, just take it off, whatever month's rent you want to take it off. So we did. And we had to do it in every room. Now, I have a keen sense of memory, and I talk to people, and I always remember the weird things that they say. And when I bought the carpet guy in to do the cutting and the stitching and the re-adding to fill up that hole that he cut out, I remember the carpet guy, after doing multiple rooms, looking at those patterns, saying in the history of his carpet business, must have been about 23 years or so, he's never seen a stain like that. Well, it's not a stain. He's like, I've encountered numerous stains, numerous stories, but he could not ascertain. It was a weird pattern. And I wish I had saved them, because he didn't take me. He said, do you want these? I'm like, yeah, I'll put them in the garage. But I threw them away. I wish I had them. I could draw them to this day because I remember what they look like. Do I think there's something satanic took place in the home? I don't know. I know the potential of doors being opened by a ritual, by a Ouija board, by a seance. I don't know. I think it's very, I could never find out what those patterns were or meant. I went online and tried to look but I sort of need the carpet with the patterns were on to really do a true investigation. But man, do I wish, because obviously when I threw them away, we weren't having activity yet. And I wasn't thinking ghost at the time. But that was weird. Those patterns were in every room, they were on the carpet. It's two things possibly. Um, was it a ritual that brought the activity to the house? Maybe. Or was it a ritual to remove the activity? Was it a family, a couple, or Rhonda? Remember, Rhonda had activity in the home. And was it something they did, because it's in every room, to remove? Uh, but no, I don't know. I don't know I don't know if there was any um, Lucifer or cult involved.
Don has a couple of questions. Did you ever feel like whatever this thing was trying to communicate with you telepathically, or was it just to startle and scare you?
The telepathically, that's a good question. That's probably why we got the segment tomorrow.
Okay.
I can tell you in the home, the Bothell home, nothing of that occurred, meaning telepathically. Was they trying to communicate with us? Oh, yes, through multiple means and channels. Poltergeists are interesting in how they have the ability of speech. They can enunciate words well. They don't always get it right, but they can do it well. We know they can write. We know they know my first name. We know because they've written my first name on the wall. They don't never say hello, but they wrote Die Keith or Die KL. And sometimes, I would hear the word Keith come out of the air, like Keith, like Tina, in Tina's voice, mind you, but it's not Tina. Tina would sometimes hear her name called in my voice, but it's not me. So I would respond, hey, Tina, what do you want? And she's like, I didn't call you. Or Tina would come to me, hey, Keith, what do you want? I'm like, I didn't call you. And then as far as communication, yeah, you got the wall writings. I mean, that's definitely communication. The upside down symbol of the upside down stick figure of a man symbol, that's a means of communication. We learned that means that it's a Native American symbol. It means a man has died or a man is about to die. Me hearing the about to die was very discerning, especially after learning that I was pushed down the stairs. I thought that was a forewarning, if you will. Um, and the fact that Rhonda is no longer with us, she did, successfully commit suicide after 4 attempts in the home. But yeah, to answer your question, there were several times of communication of wall writing. Of course, other Poltergeist cases speak of wall writings, notes being left. Definitely the Poltergeist pointing to verse and chapter on the Bible is its way of communicating. But they're not always clear. There's always a level of ambiguity as to what all they're saying. It's almost like they purposely speak cryptic or in riddles for you to get the whole picture. Why don't you just tell us what you want without all these cookie crumbs? It's always these cookie crumbs. I mean metaphorically, of what it is you're doing here or why you're doing it. Just blurt it out. Just tell them, well, what do you want? What's your true? What do you want? What can we do? What can we do or not do for you? And they're very cryptic about that. I think that's by design. I think they get a kick out of us, out of me, trying to decipher whatever it is they wrote on my wall.
Yep. And also, did you ever feel it might be extraterrestrial with all those ET powers going through walls, moving things, energetics, fire, etc.?
No, I've never got the sense, not saying that it is or isn't. I've never got the sense that, we're being visited or have been visited, or that it's coming from, a terrestrial. I will say, which it would meet the definition, and I said this in my third book, these entities, and I call them entities, minions, spirits, whatever you want to call them, I call them that. I say they exist in a different dimension than we do. They are able to operate, orchestrate from that dimension. And therefore, by definition, if they are orchestrating and manipulating from that dimension, then by definition, that can be considered extraterrestrial. Physics says, theoretical physics, astrophysics say, or believe or say that according to string theory, that there are a total of 11, if not more, dimensions around us. But we should not ever think that these dimensions are far away places. You know, science, Star Wars, Star Trek, TV makes it feel like these dimensions are, you got to get in a spaceship to get to them. Theoretical physics will tell you these dimensions are right around, they're all around you. There's enough affinity between you and the computer screen that you're looking at right now to hold a gargantuan amount of data, of life, of information, because we're talking about the macro world, where we know in the micro quantum world, things are infinitely smaller, and these dimensions, according to the theory of both relativity and the theory surrounding quantum physics, these dimensions are curled up, they're curled. A superb book that I read when I was studying for my book, my third book, was the book Flatland, excellent book, talks about how, you know, you and me living in a 3D world will be able to operate in a 4D, 5D world, or reverse, a 5D world, 4D world would look to us, or how they would be able to have abilities over us. You know, if somebody coming from 11th dimension to our 3rd dimension of space, 4th dimension of time, would appear godlike, because they would be able to do things that we ourselves couldn't even dream of doing. So yeah, I think if, as far as, you know, extraterrestrial like ET or UFO or spaceship, I've seen nothing to lead me down that path. But as far as where the spirits operate from, yeah, I would say they're operating from a dimension, and therefore that would be considered extraterrestrial.
Yeah, good explanation. Has anyone else got any questions before Keith continues with his talk?
Yeah, sure.
Rob? Hi.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Just in reply to Don's question as to why, as Keith said, everything stopped for about a year, the house went quiet. In my 30 years of psychically clearing haunted houses, that sort of thing's quite common. Poltergeists move around quite a lot, and they probably found something a bit more interesting to do for that year, but eventually they came back to their base. An example of poltergeists moving around a lot would be the first time that we spoke on Zoom. That night, I got a visit from some of Keith's poltergeist mob in Seattle. They'd crossed the Pacific Ocean to come here to Sydney in Australia to wake me up. I was switching the television on at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I went into the lounge room and switched the TV off. And then I was woken up a bit later on by the sound of a telephone ringing. But I don't have a telephone in my bedroom. I just lay there listening to this phone ringing, and it was one of the old style phones, like a landline that had a metal bell inside of it. Now, you don't see phones like that around anymore, so I wonder where the pulse record that sound precisely. And so I just lay there and listening, and the phone eventually stopped ringing. And then a while later, I get woken up by this young poltergeist who comes into the room, tries to frighten me, and he's a very effeminate-looking young man, a bit of a cross-dresser, trying to be aggressive and nasty. So I just told him to F off, followed by some extremely blunt language. I seemed to have hurt his feelings, and he left. I haven't seen him since. So talking about how pulps move around, they right across the Pacific just to come and annoy me one night. So I hope that explains about how pulps move around, Don.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. I had no idea that they could even do that. Um, come to visit somebody based on just your attendance at the Zoom meeting.
Although they're listening to us now, they're at Keith's place, watching and listening to what's going on. And if they can see a bit of mischief.
Sharing. Right, maybe we'll continue with Keith's talk, and then we'll have more Q&A afterwards.
Yeah, so just to piggyback on, the concept of poltergeist being at two places at one time or visiting, one of the, I guess our mind, human beings, our mind is sort of, limited, we sort of get stuck in our thinking because there was some people who came to our house, I'm talking about it, investigators or people I tell this story to. It's hard for them to wrap their brain around the idea that I could be traveling on business, going to a city across the country, Florida, Spokane, Washington, Southern California on business while I'm living in the Bothell house and have similar activity in my hotel room. And by that, I mean objects moving, thrown, my pillow being yanked from under me while sleeping, the sheets literally yanked off my bed. I don't mean like, if you're a rough sleeper and the sheets fall off your bed or the wind or nothing. No, there is no wind. I'm on the 27th floor of a building. There's no window open. And the sheets, the comforter are yanked off the bed abruptly in the middle of your sleep and thrown to the other side of the room. Your chair, your office chair, your computer desk chair in the hotel room, miraculously slides across the floor in the middle of the night. Your headboard, the constant tapping, the pounding. And when I call Tina the next day to tell her what had happened, she's on the phone saying, I tried to call you last night. And I'm like, wait a minute, you tried to call me last night? Yeah, once again, I have no missed calls from you. And she tells me, well, the house was exploding last night. Her and her best friend were being attacked. She's trying to call me, but once again, the calls are not going out. And that happened multiple times where I am not in the home and I'm being attacked in hotel rooms. I just got back from a trip to Eastern Washington Monday. And I can tell you that this is about maybe the fifth time this has happened, where I'm being poked and prodded in my rib cage. It's not the person sitting back behind me, just FYI, because in this flight, I had the 20th row. I'm in the back of the plane, and I'm getting poked and prodded in my rib cage through the seat. Okay. That's happened while sleeping. That's happened while driving. That's happened while being 35,000 feet in the air. My attorney, who was my attorney at the time, came to the Bothell house one time, and this is in the first book, The Bothell Hell House, came by to drop off some paperwork. And she knew of my story. She knew that we were making claims that our house was haunted. She did not know to the degree. So she nonchalantly was sort of poking fun at the idea of the house was haunted. Like, hey, spirit, come out wherever you are. If you're really haunted, show me something. And I advised her that's not a good thing to do based on what we've already had already. Please don't do that. Weeks later, I get a text message, phone call from her, and all the lights in her home in California are going off and on. all the coat hangers in her closet are flying out of her closet, coat hangers, one by one, one by one, one by one, one by one. She likes wine. All the corks in her bottles, about 100 odd bottles, pop one by one, consecutively in her wine cellar. Her son, this is very interesting, came to her one night, sat on her bed and said, Mommy, Mommy, they just told me, she asked her, what do you want? What's going on? They just told me they're not done with Keith's house. Now, he's like, I don't know, 6 years old. She's not shared my house with him. She's not shared anything, because why would you tell a 6-year-old that? She's not shared anything about my house. She doesn't even share that with who Keith is. And her son saying, Mommy, I can't sleep because they keep telling me they're not done with Keith. This is in the midst of 2014, of everything I showed you. Her son told her that. So, right, so there's things, all y'all stories that y'all just said in this that proves to me that, yeah, there's, when I say Poltergeist, I always put the S at the end of it because it's easy to think when you say Poltergeist. Well, you got one Poltergeist in your house. How do you know that? No, there are multiple voices, young child, young female girl, young male child, middle-aged male child, middle-aged female voice. I'm talking about the voices that we've captured, or the investigators that have captured, male voice, female voice, Irish accent, different voices, different age groups. And the spirits are very honest when you ask them, you know, what Rich was saying earlier about his house. Don Phillips were very thorough when they came to the Bothell neighborhood. And they asked pertinent questions because this is all research to them. And they asked, do you go from house to house? And the spirit said, yes, we go from house to house in that neighborhood. Different people respond differently. Like somebody might come to a room and they had the lights on and they could have sworn it was off when they left. There's all kind of things our brain shuts down or we don't entertain much. But there's little nuances of the cat, the dog acting weird, and things of that nature that to me is just too coincidental to sort of just shrug it off and say, it's you know, it's this and that. When you take it in the totality of it all, and why do we often think that they're just limited to one home or one location? And we got the voices to prove it. They said, yeah, we go from house to house. And that's what they do. They said, we just go from house to house. They take things. Remember, the objects that are appearing in my house that neither Tina or I owned had to belong to somebody. The items that I still have missing today, camera, Tina's jewelry, silverware, iPad. I mean, iPad's a pretty big item when you think in the realm of being something that goes missing. Countless things that are missing, shoes, toothpaste, toothbrush. These things are missing. Well, they're not in the cavity of the house. They're in other people's homes. Could be a block over, could be a city over, it could be a country over or a state over or oceans over is my belief. So yeah, that's what I want the community as a whole to start thinking about when we talk about the teleportation of items and the appearance of items and the hauntings that take place in homes. Because had an investigator arrived at our home early on, maybe they should have gone to, maybe it's time to we go from every house in the neighborhood, not just the houses immediately close by. I know it's a lot of footwork, but maybe every house should be knocked on, every door, to where, hey, my name is such and such and such. I'm with this paranormal org. I know, don't slam the door on me, I'm kind of weird. But can you just talk to me for 10 minutes? I'm very curious. Is there anything weird that you've ever had happen in the home that you maybe just shrugged off but stayed in the back of your mind? And see what that residential person tells you. I know, especially in your neighborhood, Rick, I think people would be surprised. I think people would really be surprised based on the people who knocked on our door after the Ghostbusters band left, because they said, "Oh my God, our house is doing this too." So yeah, I think there's more to that. But to get back to the slide deck, because you've been seeing this work targeting, and going back to the question before our break, where I talked about the fall that I had where I tore my kneecap. I talked about this in my first book. There were three phases of hauntings for me and Tina that we experienced, and I think other people with poltergeist experiences too. There's the phase of the haunting, talking about the poltergeist haunting, where every house occupant in the home, everybody's being haunted at the same time, meaning everybody is witnessing similar phenomena. Remember I said early on, for the first phase of the haunting, me and Tina were witnessing phenomena together, okay? Things would blow up, fly, zoom across the room, loud bangs, door slams, fires, all that. We would witness that together. So we never doubted each other. We saw it together. Then there's the phase where the poltergeists, especially the ones in our house, would pick on one individual more than the other. Okay? We live in a world or a universe of 100%. So therefore, one person is about to experience 60% of the phenomena, or 70, or 80, God forbid, 90. And the other person is going to experience 40%, 30%, 20%. That bounced around in our house, okay? There were campaigns where Tina was being targeted because Tina, to this day, was the only one in that house to be scratched. Tina received for 3 days in a row, because that number 3 again, for 3 days in a row consecutively, where she was scratched from both arms to both thighs. First time she was scratched, she was laying in bed. First time. She come running to me frantically because she had all these scratches. And these scratches, just FYI, they just appear in an eye blink. Okay, 1 minute you're brushing your hair, and all of a sudden you feel this immense pain. You look down, oh my gosh, I got all these scratches. That's all happens, okay? It's not like you're walking through a thorn bush and you come out on the other side and you're like, oh man, that was painful. No, in the blink of an eye, in the time it takes to switch from channel to channel, all of a sudden you got scratches all over your body. So she's coming to me frantically. That's never happened to me. I've never been scratched. On the flip side, Tina's never been pushed. I've been pushed. That's targeting. Also, the second time Tina was scratched, she was in the shower. So Tina's in the shower, she comes running out, she's dripping wet. Oh my gosh, this is day 2. I'm scratched. She got all these scratches on it. Scratches are on top of the previous scratches. Okay? And then day 3, a shower again, she's scratched. Both arms, both legs. I've never been scratched. But Tina could tell that story because she lived that story. That's what I call focusing. When you focus on an individual, and only that individual experiences that phenomena. So then me falling down the stairs, this is an x-ray of that night that the hospital took, showing my kneecap dislocated. That little rock you see, that's my kneecap. It should be south, it should be further south. That's the kneecap. This is me in the ER. This is my right leg. This is how swollen it got. Okay, this is January 2nd, 2014. So these are examples of poltergeist targeting. Remember, they said we pushed him down the stairs. There was maybe 14 months of zero activity. Okay, but they said we pushed him. Now, why did they push me down the stairs? I think because this is what was the linchpin to restart the activity, which is weird. It's so weird that they had to take this, but after this became within 3 to 4 weeks, the activity resumed. This is what I wanted to talk about right here. This is what I was talking about earlier about the poster catching fire. This is a perfect example of targeting. Tina is not even in the house. Remember, this is me in the shower. This is what I found when the fire alarms went off in the house. I run out. We've heard fire alarms before because the Bible 1 had already caught fire and set off its own fire alarm a few days ago. I run out. I had to douse the fire with the towel, the bath towel. That's how I doused this fire. And the poster is not a paper material. I want to say it's sort of synthetic. It's sort of a synthetic material. It melts and it leaves this horrible damage to your wall, considerable damage to the wall. And I'm responding to this fire. The fire department responds to this fire because I called. Remember, targeting. When I called 911, every time I tried to give them my address, major static, major static. I couldn't get it. Listen, FYI to any investigator on this call today, especially in the United States. I don't know how they do it in Australia. And I wish I knew this at the time. But if you call 911 in the United States, in the county that we live in, the Snohomish County, you are able to call and get a copy of your 911 call. Okay? Snohomish County, which is where I live in, or lived in at the time of this, or still do, keeps 911 records for 6 months. They keep the audio. I'm talking about the audio. They keep the audio record. The paper record is endless. I got that. I put that in my book, the paper record. I wanted the audio record because I think it would have been immense value to all of you today and to anybody for that matter, hearing my frantic of my state of mind when I called 911. I've never seen myself that scared before. I've never seen I'm a grown man. I no shame to my game. I was boo-hooing, crying like a baby, okay? But and behind me was the fire alarms in my house going off. And in that call, had I had that audio, y'all would have heard the receptionist, the operator, having trouble hearing me 3 times. That would have been immense valuable evidence. So my recommendation to researchers and paranormal people, if you ever get a house similar and you talk to the house occupants and they say, or they reveal to you, they called 911, ask them or you, because you can do this, retrieve the audio. You can retrieve it. You go to the website, you can actually request it. Okay, I did not know. I found out late. By the time I found out, they had already deleted it. I missed the cutoff. It was years later. I came to them and they sorry, we only hold that unless there's a subpoena from the court because they get this all the day, so they have to clean up the database. Unless there's a subpoena from the court to tie this to, we delete those in 6 months. But well, by the time I called them, it was 2 years plus, and they didn't have it. But they had the paper. They had the paper. But I would have loved to have that audio because to me, that audio, and I know how my frame of mind was when the whole fire and debacle and all that, and the door wasn't open and all that transpired. I know that to me is the best definition of what a poltergeist haunting is. So just FYI to anybody who goes to a house where the house occupant said, yeah, we called 911, we had a fire, we didn't know how to, we were scared, we were terrified, and we thought, get that audio, because believe it or not, I'm probably certain the spirit's voices are on that audio. I'm pretty sure that audio has EVPs on it. I'm pretty sure. Based on the fact that the EVPs are pretty much on everything I say in the house, out the house, even now, upon review, if you review this Zoom meeting later, you're probably going to hear the spirit voices. Other people have heard it when I do radio interviews and other podcasts, people from all over the world come back to me later and say, dude, there are voices underneath your voice. There are things talking. And so there you go there. So this is another example of targeting, poster catching fire, of where the poltergeist focuses on one person. It's not so much as personal, it's so much that you're vulnerable. And you don't expect. I never expected this. Even when the Bible caught fire, I never expected this in a million. And who would? How could I? Probably the second best form of targeting, or debatable the first, or tied. We'll say tied. Okay, let's go back to when I moved into the house. I'm bringing major boxes into the house. I'm moving into the house. We all got photo albums, right? I have my own. These photo albums that I have, I never unpacked. I kept them in a box. You know, they're creature comforts, whatever. I don't need them. I just kept them in a box. I kept them tucked away in the closet to the point that I even forgot that I owned them. Okay. When the house was attacked, or was at its campaign of the poster fire, the wall writings and whatnot, I came home one day in the midst of all this destruction and found 3 photos of me. I only had 3 photos of me and my family in my photo album. Were neatly sitting on the computer desk next to the keyboard. Okay. Now I forgot. This is 2 years after I moved in. This happened in 2014. I had forgotten I even owned these pictures because we live in a digital age now. So I don't even think I still own them. You know, I've just been carrying them around for numerous years, not really want to get rid of them. And then I come home into all this melee, all this destruction, and neatly next to my keyboard, to my mouse, computer mouse, are these 3 different photos of me and my family. This is my family, mom on the left, the dad on the right, may you rest in peace. That's me in the middle. My face, as you can see, is burnt out, scorched out, my face. This is a similar photo. This is my sister's college graduation. Dad to the left, mom in the middle to him, next to him, the black dress. My sister in the white dress, just graduated. My younger brother, yeah, he's taller than me. Oh, well. And then me in the back. My face is burnt out. Only my face is burnt out. Now, if you look closer, you'll see, look like a little lightning or something is cutting through the half of my face. You see this little lightning deal, but my face is burnt out, okay? Similar photo. This is at my brother, my younger brother, one you just saw on the right. This is his college graduation. This is my dad to his left. My brother, he's just graduated, he's holding his baby. That's me to his right. You see my face burnt out. Now look closer to my face. You see a circle within a circle. Okay? You see a circle within a circle. Okay? That's in my book, Poltergeist, The Night Side of Physics. I talk about how, or I theorize how poltergeists the world over are able to start objects on fire. How are they able to set objects on fire? And I threw the term out there, black body radiation. And I threw the term black body. So what you have is, what's a black body? What's black body radiation? A black body emits black body radiation. Black body radiation is simply, in layman's terms, heat, intense heat that is below the spectrum, the visibility spectrum that remains in the infrared spectrum. It is invisible to the naked eye, but it's intense heat nonetheless, to where we all have black body devices in our home. A hair dryer that dries your hair is a black body. It's emitting heat You don't see the heat coming out of the nose of your hair dryer. You feel it, but it's targeting. It's got a narrow target primarily because your hair. So that's why we wave it around. I have no hair, but those who have hair, you wave it around because the heat is focused, but it's black body radiation. The black body is the thing that emits the heat. A perfect example is a stove range. If I go and turn my stove on, I can turn it on high, and if I look at it, it looks the same as if it was off. Okay? Because it's a black body. Now, if I touch it, whoa, I'm going to burn myself significantly. Now, let's say if you have infrared goggles. If I was to put on infrared goggles, you will see the heat. You will see the heat from your hair dryer. You will see the heat waves coming from the nose of the gun to your hair. This right here in the Bibles, going back earlier, let me go all the way back to the Bibles. Notice here, when we was talking about the pages, I want everybody to look at the corner of the pages, and you will see very interesting of trying to find out where did the fire originate? Where did the heat originate? Keep in mind, there was one Bible that we found in the hallway on the bookshelf that was still on the bookshelf that looked like this. I don't have it in this slide, but yeah, I think some of y'all have seen it already. And one of the questions I asked and all the other investigative teams asked was, we see this incinerated book resting on a bookshelf, but why is all the fire damage only limited to the book? There's no heat residue, smoke residue, smoke rises, right? Heat rises. There's a bookshelf on top of the bookshelf that should have absorbed the majority of the heat. There should have been some sort of residue or pattern left to where you can be able to see, a fire did happen here. Not necessarily with black body. If you take a heat gun, Home Depot, Costco, any hardware department store, a heat gun, and point it to a book or anything, you can heat something and concentrate the heat in a small area and not emit any flame, no flame whatsoever, but the heat is still immense, going like the poster here. There's no smoke residue. Where look at the ceiling. Where is the smoke from this poster? This poster is significantly damaged. This is a significantly damaged poster. Where is, if you minus the melted poster, which is the stuff on the wall from the synthetic poster, minus that, you couldn't tell a fire ever happened in this room. Minus that. Especially the ceiling. There should be smoke. This is what drove the fire department crazy when they were in my room. They were like, where is the smoke on the ceiling? The fire inspector, when he came to my house a day later for insurance purposes, they were like, there's no smoke on the ceiling, so it's confined. So these right here, this right here, somehow they were able to just burn my face and keep it concentrated to not affect my brother's face. You don't see my brother with anything. The damage to my face stops at my face. Look at that. Stops. You and I, if we were to take a picture and got a lighter, get a cigarette lighter and try to do that, I doubt we could be that successful because we can control the length of the fire. We would probably, in our inexperience, burn half our friend or family member's face in demonstrations to show how did they do that? How did that? But you can do that. You can do that with black body radiation. You can do that. Another example of targeting. These are 3 shards of glass. Remember I told you going back when Tina was in the home, we had numerous occasions where the porcelain dome above the glass would explode. I mean, it just popped, explode. Debris would go everywhere. Now, this is my hallway. Okay, this is my hallway. For about 8 months to a year or more, I would be walking in other portions of the house, mainly downstairs, especially this one up right here. And as I'm walking, I would step on something. And I was like, ouch. I would look down, and there would be 3 shards of glass stuck to my foot, or one, and I would pull it out and see the other 2 on the carpet. This is way further from the damage, from the debris field. How about that? From the debris field. Every instance where we had activity upstairs or down, me and Tina always brought in professional carpet cleaners to remove the burnt sage, the burnt ash, the wax that you saw earlier got on the floor, because we wanted to keep the carpet as thorough and clean as we could. And for months on end, for about a year, I would always run into these inexplicable shards of glass in portions of the house that had no glass or were far from the debris field. Far from the debris field. Always 3. Always 3. And it was interesting how I would pick them out of my foot and be like, where did this glass come from? Because nothing recently has exploded. Nothing recently, let alone downstairs. All the lights that blew up in our house blew up upstairs. This is downstairs. This is me putting it on the landing or the kitchen island. Look at it. I guess you can say you can't get no more targeting when a poltergeist starts writing your name on the wall with the words die KL. If you look at the upside down stick figure, that's a scissor. That's a scissor stabbed in the middle of the head. Okay? This happened on my birthday. This is December 15th, 2014. How do I remember this so vividly? 2 things. 2 reasons. December 15th, I always, on my birthday, go and get my yearly physical. It just makes it easy to remember. I was working half a day that day, half a day. I was supposed to go into the office after my doctor's appointment, which was early that morning. I woke up, Tina went to work, and I was preparing to leave the house when I went into my office to get my car keys and my wallet. When I got to the safe, which is where I was keeping my car keys and wallet at the time, because they had gone missing before, and car keys are very expensive to replace. My wallet was gone. My wallet was gone. This is the morning of me. I had a 9 a.m. doctor's appointment. This is about 7 a.m. when I realized I have no wallet. So I had to cancel my doctor's appointment and had to go to the driver's license office to get a new driver's license, cancel my credit cards, cancel my bank cards. I called my boss. I remember I still had that email and said, remember that half day I was taking? It's going to be all day. I got to go to the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles in Linwood, and get a new driver's license because it's gone. My wallet is gone. See, when the poltergeist takes things in our house, our personal belongings, I never go looking for it. Tina never goes looking for it. We never get them back. That wallet and all the contents in it are still gone to this day. So I go to the driver's license office. I get my new driver's license. I come back home and say, I'm going to work from home instead of going to the office. I go upstairs, and this is what I see. This is what I find after coming back from the driver's license office. Die KL. It's written multiple times in this room. I'm going to show you. But look closely at the scissors in the middle of the head, you know, the amount of force it takes to stab a scissor, this was about 3 inches into the wall when I pulled it out. 3 inches into the wall. You see the bar stool resting on the office chair. That's the bar stool from the kitchen. You see 666 written on the wall to the right. This is die KL written on the ceiling. This is the dome I was talking about. These are what explode in our house. This is probably the 3rd or 4th dome that I put on above the bulb. That is what explodes. You see die KL on the ceiling. I think it was a few weeks before, I was going to run an errand, go to the grocery store, and I told Tina, yeah, I'm going to go to the grocery store, and I went to my car. This is before my birthday. And when I get into my car, the same oily-like substance that you see here is written everywhere on the inside of my car. IKL is written on the ceiling. 666 is written on the sun visor above the driver's head. IKL is written on the sun visor above the passenger seat. IKL is written on the steering wheel. IKL is written on the dashboard. The upside down man was drawn on both driver and passenger door. The trunk light, meaning the panel you have in your car indicating your trunk door is open or unlocked, was lit. Okay, so you see both view. You see inside view and you see bird's eye view. And yes, DIKL was written on the back seat of the car. An upside down man symbol drawn on the back seat of the passenger side of the car. This weird oily substance. You're talking, oh man, the amount of time it takes to clean this up, the level of frustration to clean this, to paint over this. The reason why you see these white patches underneath the DIKL is because this has happened, not the DIKL particularly, but the other wall writings, has happened about 5, if not 8 times already. So I'm just painting over it. And this is the level of attachment, the level of focus, the level of targeting. Keith Linder. Upside down. Okay. This instance happened, I'm no longer living in the Bothell house. We're gonna fast forward to 2016. This was November, December 2014. This was December 15th, 2014. This was probably October, November of 2016. Remember, I moved out of the Bothell home May of 2016. I'm living now in Mount Lake Terrace. You look at this picture and you probably, from looking at this picture, can't tell what's wrong. You're like, what's wrong with this picture? There's a lot wrong with this picture. But I don't know if I'm not read either in my book, especially the second one. I doubt anybody here knows what's wrong with this picture. Maybe Andy does, but I'm about to tell you. So imagine, put yourself in my shoes. I want to put everybody in this car to put themselves in my shoes. And imagine you're driving home. It's nighttime. You're driving in your respective city, wherever you live in. You're driving home. It's night. It's at night. You're in the car by yourself. And imagine you've had all the activity that I've had. You're in my world. So you're me. Imagine you're in the car, you're me. So you're driving home you're about 5-6 months removed from living in the Bothell house, but you're driving home. And as you're driving, just out of the blue, the passenger seatbelt light comes on. Now, what's different between this picture and the top picture and this picture is this is the passenger seatbelt light starts flashing off and on. Now, I'm pretty sure in Australia, the cars are built similar for passenger seatbelts, meaning when most cars today, and they're built this way, cars are computerized. Since it's only me in the car 99.99% of the time, this light should never come on because I don't have passengers. I don't have anybody. That light comes on only when a certain weight threshold has been met, meaning if somebody sits in a seat, you have a friend, you pick them up from work or a movie or something, and they sit in your car and they don't put the seatbelt light on, probably about 10 feet as you're driving, your seatbelt passenger light is going to come on. Why? Because the computer underneath the seat has detected weight and is saying, this person does not have their seatbelt on. There's no seatbelt on, and you see the light. You know, we've all reminded people, hey, put your seatbelt on. We're about to take off. We're about to go somewhere. You know, we've all seen that. It's weirder when you're in a car by yourself, okay? Now, of course, some could say, that could be electrical malfunction. I don't know, that could be, I don't know. Well, the only way to rule that out is to take it in to be serviced, which I did, and they can't find nothing wrong. There's no rhyme or reason why this is happening. This only lasts a few minutes. This is not infinite. It goes maybe 5 minutes or so. I noticed it really happened as I'm on my way to my new place of residence. Okay. And it happened 3 times. The first time this has happened, I thought it was interesting. I shrugged it off and I thought I had a faulty wiring in my car. I really did. I thought it was faulty wiring. And I'm like, oh, okay. The second time it happened, I really thought, okay, I have faulty wiring in my car. It's time for my car to get serviced. I'll take it in, let them deal with it. They can find nothing wrong. They can find nothing wrong. The third time it happened, or before the third time it happened, I said, if it happens again, I'm going to do what Steve and Dawn do. I'm going to try to conduct an EVP session. I'm not a paranormal, but I've seen enough to where I think I can do it. I really don't want to do it. I'm scared to do it. I think I might attract or reactivate, but this is interesting. I have a hunch that this is paranormal related. Keep in mind, I'm already still having activity at my new place of residence, so this is not a far-fetched idea. I've already had the water puddle phenomena. I'm already being visited by the succubus and all that. So this is not a far-fetched idea, but I want to be certain. Maybe it's electrical, maybe it's not. I pull out my cell phone. Thank God it has a built-in voice recorder app. And I asked the question. And I'm like, hey, is anybody in the car with me? Hey, are you in the car with me? Am I alone? And I forgot what question I asked specifically, but there's a video of this. This has been recorded, so there's a video of this. And I asked the question.
Sorry, Keith, can I just quickly interrupt? Yeah, one of our participants, she's gone. I didn't realize she had to go that quickly. She wanted to ask you a question. Oh, she's gone. Sorry. Yeah, she didn't indicate that she needed to go really soon, but anyway. Okay. Anyone else need to go? Anyone else need to go early? No?
Yeah, I'll probably have to go in the next 5 or 10 minutes or so.
Okay, did you have a question before you wanted to go?
Nothing. There's, I guess, one question which goes back to an earlier thing Keith was discussing, to do with missing mobile phone calls. Keith, you mentioned when Tina got scared out of the house, she was trying to call you, and you were trying to call her. You were both not actually receiving any calls. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. I guess what I was wondering was we were assuming that the poltergeist activity was preventing the calls from being transmitted, or at least received. Was it located primarily in the house, or were you actually outside of the house when this happened?
Tina tried to call me from inside the house. I was out having dinner with friends, and never got her call.
Right.
Or other instances, vice versa. I could be in the house and she never get my calls. When the time I was being attacked in the hotel in another city and she was being attacked in the home, she tried to call me that night. And I have no missed calls from her. I have 0 missed calls from her. But what's interesting, you can look on her phone and see the calls being placed. You can see the amount of time she's tried to call me. She says every time I ask her, she did get voicemail. When I call my phone company to try to pull, did the phone reach them? Did it reach any, cell phone tower or database or anything? They have no data. They have no record of an incoming call at that time. I had Verizon at the time. Tina had AT&T, so we had separate phone carriers. But her calls definitely showed up on her phone. There's always a call going out, but
Nothing
numerous occasions, it was just I have no record of you calling. And you have to keep in mind, this is what the Poltergeist did to create the atmosphere or put the idea in Tina's mind that I was cheating on her, because soon after that campaign of not being able to reach me and doubting that I'm where I'm supposed to be, we started finding female jewelry in the home, even in the bedroom, even in the bed, that was not Tina's. I'm not talking about girl trinkets like before. I'm talking about adult female jewelry. So the Poltergeist is very careful of orchestrating, manipulating of, hey, I want you to doubt Keith's whereabouts, but in case you're giving him some wiggle room and thinking it was technology, let me just now put the female jewelry in these places where you can find them. And those created arguments. Those created very heated debates and arguments, and it stopped us from what we were instructed to do, which was be unified. So the church and the paranormal teams all together said, we got to be unified, especially you two, and any disagreement is like putting logs on the fire.
Yeah.
And the Poltergeist was very orchestrated in how they, was very, they should work for the CIA, they really should, and how they manipulated us to get us, because we were no longer talking about the activity. I'm being falsely accused. I had to defend myself. Voices are getting raised, tempers are flaring, and then the Poltergeist is like, sitting on the sideline, like, yeah. And then the activity ratchets up even more.
Okay. So based on what you were saying, I guess what I was trying to figure out was if the poltergeist activity was actually still localized in the house, preventing the calls from going out, or if they were actually following you and preventing the calls being received by you.
Honestly, both.
Both?
Yeah, I really believe there are multiple spirits working in unison. Because, especially when I was in the hotel being attacked, the last thing I thought when I called Tina, because I want to tell her my story, I'm like, hey, I've been attacked. But Tina had a story of her own to tell. So I'm calling her about to tell her my story, and she's like talking over me because she has a story to tell. Like, oh no, Keith, I was attacked. I'm like, wait a minute, you were attacked? No, I was attacked. No, I was attacked. And we're like,
okay.
Oh, we both were attacked at the same time, give or take an hour or two.
So they're working in tandem. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you, Keith.
Keith, Cherie just wanted to ask, she's left now, but she'll listen to the recording, how the trauma and experience is driving you now to share this with people, if at all.
Yeah, I believe in, as long as I have air in my lungs, like I was telling individuals earlier before the meeting started, I think our experience, or anybody's, me and Tina, we're not special in the sense of, we're special. I think any experience like this should be told, because there are people, there are researchers, there are inquisitors, and this is valuable information. This should not die with me, meaning the experience. And that's why I put it in the book. That's why I did documentation, is because, like you said, the question he asked of, they're working in cahoots, they're working in concerted effort. That might not be well accepted in the paranormal community. Like I said, we think of poltergeists in singular terms, but maybe they're not. Maybe there's a concerted effort and they're working in tandem. And we need to think, plural versus singular of what the phenomena is. So I think for me, I'm not traumatized in the sense to where I don't feel uncomfortable talking about it. I just think it's beneficial to talk about it to a listening audience, because I think people can take away and learn so much and be like, wow, I was going down this path with my thought or theory, and this is just revised. This is just changing it all up. This is turning current thinking, current paradigms upside down. And that's good. That's good. Cases like this, I believe more people will come forward with their story if they were less attacked and less ridiculed. And I am, but that doesn't bother me. I just look past that. So I think from a traumatic point of view, yeah, there was trauma. There still is. I don't like, a loud bang, the car backfiring, the 4th of July fireworks. There's certain loud noises that irritate me, that bother me. I jump, I twitch. I didn't do that before all this. And I don't think that's ever going to wear off, or it's going to take for a long time to wear off. So yeah, I just think sharing is the best antidote. So to finalize this, like I said, I pulled out my video audio recorder on my phone, and one of the voices upon review, and I'll send everybody the audio files for them to listen themselves. The voice that I picked up, very augmented, very electronical, coming through upon review, said, "Sit in the chair." That's what the words came back when I asked, "Is there anybody in the car with me?" And the voice, of course, I didn't hear that with the naked ear. I heard it upon review, and it said, "Sit in the chair." And upon putting it in through the software, audio software, you can see the voice pattern appear on the audio spectrum, of that enunciation. And this is just me showing you other instances of the poltergeist, really focusing on any chair that I sat in the Bothell house, the bar stool, the office chair. This is the kitchen chair you saw in the office earlier. This is the same kitchen chair. This is Halloween night. See how the kitchen chairs, the 2 chairs are pulled back from the kitchen table, sort of like in a court fashion deal. You see one bar stool is missing in the background. There's one bar stool to the left, but the one is missing obviously because it's in my office. And you see this is my chair. This is the one I sit in when I have supper. This cross, see how this is positioned by this cross. This cross came from the master bedroom. It's got this chair and this cross, this alignment, this interesting alignment that you see with the chairs pulled out. But it was interesting that this is the office chair cut in half once again, showing how it was the stem is pointing to the Bible passage, which I have another picture of the exact Bible passage, so I can provide that if anybody wants that. Once again, this is another picture of the office chair that you saw over here. This is that chair. Different day, different instance. My chair, though, no other chair was ever relocated to the office. This happened earlier this year. This is me working from home, my third place of residence. I'm working, I'm typing away, and I get a weird text message. It says, Keith, this is Christine. This is a friend I have not talked to in over 3 years, but she's still on my phone, obviously. Keith, this is Christine. Can you please come to room 13 when you are not busy? And I'm like, room 13? That's me, room 13? That's, I mean, it's weird. Christine, I live in Bothell. Christine lives, or at the time, lives in Puyallup, Washington. It's about an hour plus drive. And she's texting me. It's about a 9 a.m. text. Keith, this is Christine. Can you please come to room 13 when you are not busy? I'm like, room 13? Yep. And I'm like, I don't understand. Room 13, where? Question mark. No more replies after that. No more replies. I called her right after this text message. It went straight to voicemail, no replies, nothing. And to this day, I have not been able to raise Christine. So it was very interesting. But room 13 was interesting to me because 2506 is the address of the Bothell house. 2506. 2 plus 506 is the address of the Bothell house. So I was like, wait a minute, what are you know? And I could not think of what is room 13? So that was very interesting to me. And if you add 2506 together, you get the number 13. And going back to the EVPs that Dawn and Steve got, where the poltergeist said to them, their words, not mine, we go from house to house in that neighborhood. We're always going from house to house. I called my phone company once again to verify, do y'all have record of this text message? Verizon emailed me back the tech support. They responded relatively quickly, quicker than I thought they would. And they have no record of this text message. They have none. This did not come through whatever they would call a switch or whatever. They have no record. And I got no more reply after the yep. After the yep, text message goes dead. I called and it just goes straight to voicemail. I don't even know if by me calling, if it's even reaching her. Remember, it doesn't have to reach the other person. We've already theorized that Tina calling me, she can get voicemail all day. Doesn't mean the phone is reaching me. When I call Christine to verify, I'm pretty sure the spirit's still living in this house with me today or preventing the call from reaching her. And that's it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, tomorrow's the succubus. That's the...
Yes. I just want to say I've had experiences like that too, Keith, of text messages not reaching me or reaching me a bit later or being mixed up, calls, saying someone's called and they haven't. And also when you talked about your TV blaring out this music and it wasn't plugged in, I had an experience of a radio when I was in boarding school. The boarding school I went to was an old orphanage and there was like 12 of us in the same room. And one night I was woken up by music blaring from one of the girls' radios. And when I went over there, I switched it off from radio to tape, went back to my bed, and then the music just kept blaring again. And so I went back there to her bed and I saw that she was asleep. I just turned the volume down to 0. And in the morning, I told her, I said, your radio was going off, what was going on? And she said, that can't happen. That couldn't have happened. I had no batteries in it. because we weren't allowed to plug in our radios. We had to have batteries. Yeah, so that reminded me of the incident when you talked about the TV not being plugged in.
Yeah, and even in this, like I said, Rhonda, who lived in the home in 2008, 2009, when I talked to her, said the same thing. And when I talked to Rhonda, I never told her or divulged what we were experiencing because I didn't want to pollute her response. And she said, yeah, the TV would come on, channels would change, by themselves, and electrical devices, lights go off and on, and we had that already. So I knew she was genuine. I just did not know to the degree of the possibility, of a TV not being plugged into the wall. But upon reading other cases, that's not unknown. That's almost a common occurrence that they use early on. Of the question is how, how are they able to do that? Of course. And then where did the music come from? We know Poltergeist can mimic our voice. We know there's a mimic aspect to the phenomenon. Was the song a mimic? Was the song not really Katy Perry, but the Poltergeist's mimic of Katy Perry? Because keep in mind, it was only that verse for a consecutive of 15 minutes. And it's not like the Poltergeist had tapped into the Comcast Infinity music station and just was blasting music. If it was just tapping into the Comcast Xfinity music channel, it would be a different song on every time we responded, right? It would be a different song. No, this Poltergeist wanted that verse played repeatedly 3 times, and it wanted us to, hear it 3 times, regardless of turning it off with remote control or unplugging it from the wall.
I know Katy Perry in an interview said she did Dance with the Devil, and I know she was talking about her alcohol, but she used those words. Yes, I did dance with the devil.
Yeah. Like I said, yeah. I don't think that song or song choice was random. Like I said, or it would have just been a different song every time. But and then upon learning other cases throughout the world of either song, text message, words appearing on the computer screen, but there's nobody at the keyboard. It's not far-fetched to believe or think. But like I said, the how is the mystery of, how do they do that?
Yeah. Just one more question, and then Don wants to ask you a question. So in relation to that song, so did you start to dabble in magic or kind of looked into that side of things?
No, what my takeaway when the song lyrics said, "So you want to play with magic," I theorized that to be the Poltergeist said, "So you want to play with me?" Meaning I'm going out there buying sage sticks, I'm going out there buying crosses, I'm going and printing off prayers and chants, I'm going out there buying oil. And to me, that's the Poltergeist, because keep in mind, they're attention seekers, but it takes 2 to tango in the sense of, so you're bringing all this stuff in your house, stuff you never would have bought in your house before. Oh, do you really want to play? Do you really want to go around with me? That's what I took away when it said, so you want to play with magic, huh? You really should know what you're playing with. You don't know, but you're about to find out, because I'm bringing in sage stick. I knew nothing about sage sticks. I'm having to get a knowledge dump quick, fast, in a hurry. I'm learning. I'm buying cliff notes on Poltergeist activity on how to respond and deal with the phenomena. And me and Tina know nothing. We know nothing of what's going on. We have no idea the hurt that's in store. They say when you're digging a hole, stop digging, because you're gonna fall in it yourself. We're digging a hole. We're putting more logs on the fire, and that's what that song is like. Hey, you guys, we're gonna play with magic. Okay, I got some magic for you. It's gonna be spontaneous fires. It's going to be objects thrown. It's going to be black oil coming out your ceiling, yellow oil coming out your ceiling, you're gonna see some gray ladies running around, some white ladies running around, and that's just chapter one. So that's what I took when it said, you know, you wanna play with magic.
Okay. Don?
Yeah, Keith. So, why you? Was it? Is it just you? I mean, why were they attracted to you, targeting you? You know, that chair with the cross and the court thing in the dining room and all of that. It was like they were definitely going after you, or you know, is this something that was happening to everybody that's ever lived in that house?
Well, we don't know if it happened to everybody that lived in the house because I only talked to one family or two. The homeowner swears up and down he never had anything, but his response was weird. You know, he only been to the house twice in the history of me living in, and that was day one of moving in, and day year 4 of moving out. And then Rhonda's family. I never could track down other families, but the why me, like, you know, why the chair? Why the IKL stuff? Why your office? I have three answers to that, and I think they're all sort of intermingled. Number one, the Poltergeist, I took an interesting fascination with the phenomenon. I thought that I could beat them. I said mentally and sometimes verbally, I can beat you guys. And I learned later, you don't, that's something you don't necessarily want to say. It became a challenge. Number two, no disrespect to Tina. This was my house. It was my house. It was always my house. We got the house together, but it was my idea. It was me leading us to get the house, me leading us to move in the house, orchestrated. So it was, you got to have one leader in a household, right? So it was me. It was that. And number three was I made my office the command center. The office was me, all cameras originated, and by originate, I mean got configured in the office. That's where my Wi-Fi was. That's where my technology was. That's where my computer was. That's where I don't have it now, but when I set up, my cameras were all set up, it was like I was in NASA. I had computer screens and cameras, a dashboard. I could see the inside and outside perimeter of my house. And I learned they had a field day. This camera would go black, this camera would go black, this camera would go dead. They would crisscross. This camera says living room on it, but it's showing me the bedroom. This camera says bedroom, but it's showing me the living room. And yeah, so all those things combined, they were like, yeah, why not him? Why not this? Why not this guy? Tina never saw the apparition. Tina never saw the gray lady, the white lady. I did. I saw the gray lady, I believe, 3 times, the white lady once. I described it to Tina. But she never did see it. I'm always like, why did the apparition reveal itself to me? I mean, it hit the light switch and took off running. The hallway you see behind my head, the animation behind my head, that's the hallway the gray lady took off running. Mm-hmm. That's her. So that was weird. But I think for those 3 reasons, that's why it chose me, and a few times I made it personal. Like I said, it's my house. I'm not going to be run out of my own house. I refuse to be running out of my own. I got this cowboy mentality, but gets you in trouble where poltergeists are concerned, FYI. Just saying.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Don. Ed, did you have a question? Ed, is he still there?
I did. Keith, I did on the original Bothell house, if I'm not mistaken. There was a house there on that site where your new house was built. Is that correct?
Correct. A log cabin. Yes.
A log cabin, right? I may have asked this before, and I I do astrology too. Sometimes it's a good way to try to get a beat on things. do you have a date on when that original log cabin was built?
I believe, I have to check my notes, I believe the log cabin was built in the 1940s.
Okay,
And
in the
it was
1940s.
1940s. I have to look up the exact date. And the lot was demolished in the 1965.
Okay, so 1940s. So, and the only reason I say that is because, man, sometimes I can give you some kind of a clue, but other than that, yeah, I mean, your work has always been is super interesting. Also, let me say this. This is kind of unrelated, but I just feel like I want to throw it in there because somebody asked a UFO question, and I'm sure you get a lot of UFO questions.
Oh yeah.
But there is I happen to be researching for some stuff I'm doing on my own. There's a strong link between, and then just not me, but government research into UFOs and demonology as the same thing, not a separate thing. And this is coming up in my research of Jack Parsons. It's not a crazy far off thing, but yeah, I appreciate your work because it forces people to look at some stuff maybe that they didn't want to. We don't have all the answers, but certainly you got great stuff, man. Great stuff.
Yeah, and you're right. And like I said, it's no question is out of bounds because, like I said, we don't know, and it's just weird and it's interesting. I was listening to the news today, and they were talking about, I don't know if y'all been following on the news as of late, the mysterious brain illnesses that U.S. State Department employees and some military employees have experienced over the last 5 years. What believed to have started in Cuba has now migrated to other cities in the United States, DC, of diplomats and whatnot, of weird brain injury that they were sort of at first trying to blame the Cuban government, the Russian government, of some sort of microwave tool that targets the human brain and causes these injuries to get people out of there. And they've now determined that that's not it anymore. They were first thinking, the worst case scenario. It's our adversaries. It's China. It's North Korea. It's Russia. The new theory now, after they determined that the injuries have not only been reported to U.S. citizens who work for the government, but also other countries. I'm talking about government officials all over the world. And over the last 5 years, so the phenomena has umbrellaed to where now they're like, what's causing the injuries are all the same. The individuals talk about intense headaches, migraines, brain injury, some severe, and they were always pointing to some sort of microwave tool, some new weapon, some new technology, but we don't know. The fact that they're now entertaining the thought of this is a world problem now, just not a U.S. problem. Even our adversaries are experiencing this. So if our adversaries are experiencing this, therefore, who's causing it then now? If Russia and China and everybody else are saying, oh, this is happening to us too, and they got documentation to prove it. And this last year and the year before, this whole disclosure of UFO phenomena is now real, and we're all saying that we don't know what they are, but they are UFOs, but we don't know what they are. So I think it adds to the dialogue, right? It adds to the new dialogue. And I just think we're now living in a time, more so than ever before, where new theories are coming up to the forefront, whereas back then they were taboo to even bring up.
Agreed.
Is there really another person there who keeps walking behind you?
Oh no, that's a video taken from the Bothell house. That's audio video footage of 2013, where me and Tina was just beginning to experience the phenomenon known as the lights going off and on. Yeah. So I erected a tripod video camera. So what you see, if you watch the video in its continuation, you've seen the lights go off a few times. And that's me going to investigate why the lights are going off a few times. And I think a few times maybe Tina shows up, but we're dialoguing as to why the lights keep going off and on. This is early on. This is like 2 months of living into the house where the lights will go off and on in the hallway. The real video on my YouTube channel, you can see where we are in this phenomena, because everything is new. There's no damage to the walls. There's no scuff marks, skid marks. There's nothing. The house is relatively new, but that's going to change as the poltergeist builds up. That same hallway, even that light fixture you see behind my head hanging from the ceiling, that exploded. That was one of the light fixtures that exploded that Katy Perry weekend. So this is just a video that keeps repeating. I think it's like 2 minutes long, but it repeats itself when it gets to the end.
Missed that part. Right.
Cool. Rod, was there anything you wanted to ask or say?
I'm kind of tired. Let's talk about this tomorrow, shall we?
Yep. Okay, sure. Yeah, it's been more than 3 hours. So, all right. Shall we call it a day then?
Call it a day.
Call it a day. Thank you, Keith, again. So much in there again. And those photos of you, that really intrigued me. You just, your face is the only one that was burnt out. And I know, just quickly, I thought, well, I can see faces in there, but that might be pareidolia. But in each of those photos, I could see like demonic looking face. Did anyone else see faces in those?
I did have a question. About the faces. Keith, on the backs of those photos, was there any heat damage to the back of your face on the back side of the image?
Good question. No, there was no noticeable heat damage. If you turn the photo over, there was no penetration to the other side. No.
I just can't imagine what could do that. What localized heat source can damage the emulsion on one side, but not damage the plastic on the other?
Right. And like I said, hindsight being 2020, I should have kept those photos. When Tina saw those, I mean, we were scared. I mean, we were terrified. And when we saw my face burnt out, we were instructed, and Tina immediately threw them away. People trying to get them out the house because it strengthens the spirit for the entities. But I wish I would have kept a lot. I wish I would have kept the burnt poster. I wish I would have kept the burnt cross because
forensics.
I still have the door with the wall writings on it, but there's a lot of things I wish I would have kept. But back then, I mean, I didn't know anything. But you're right. But I do know when you turn the pictures over, there was no penetration of the burnt marks on the other side. It was just a white wall or whatever, or white.
And that's similar to the Bible. Where you have heat damage, multiple pages being burnt, but you can't find a localized heat source where that's just mind numbing right there.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Amazing, Keith. Thank you once again. It was really intriguing. We'll tune in tomorrow. Is everybody going to be tuning in tomorrow here? Yes, all good. Cal?
I won't be here tomorrow.
Yeah, come tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be, believe it or not, much darker. So believe it or not, yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Ed, are you joining us tomorrow?
I will definitely be here tomorrow, pen in hand, maybe with some. Well, I'll just have pen in hand. I don't need to prepare any questions because he's got it all.
It'll be a very interesting topic. All right. Great. All right. Well, thank you. And we'll call it a night and see you tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
Or night.
Tomorrow night. Yeah.
Tomorrow night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.